simplest way is perhaps for a workshop to found its own inclusion department, and that way it would be able to hold on to some of its best workers, while at the same time giving them the benefits of working in the mainstream economy.
Mr. Luneman also reminded the audience here that the unemployment rate of disabled people was twice as high as that of people who are not, and this at a time of an acute labour shortage.
Also der Bereich von Menschen mit Behinderung, den sehen wir als Riesenchance, auch für den Arbeitsmarkt.
We see a real opportunity in the labour market for people with a disability in terms of skilled workers, because a huge number of businesses are looking for people, and we're trying to get a foothold in that market and make crystal clear the potential that people with a disability have.
What Herr Luneman told us seems to chime with the policy of the German government. The Ministry of Labour and Social Affairs told us in a statement that it is planning to reform the workshop system in order to enable more people in workshops to transition to the mainstream market. It said its reforms would include pay rises for people who work in the workshops. The system itself would, however, be maintained. That's all from Assignment. It was presented by me, Amy Zayed, and produced by Tim Mansell.
That was Assignment from the BBC.
Good morning, Manitoba, and hello, Winnipeg. I'm Marcy Marcusa. This is Information Radio, and we're live at our CBC studios in downtown Winnipeg. You're on 89.3 FM, 990 AM on the app and on YouTube this morning. And a lot of rain yesterday, again. We always start by telling you what the day is going to be like weather-wise. Well, this Thursday, it looks very similar to yesterday. We'll start with more sun. We have a slighter chance of a shower this afternoon, but still a risk of a storm, and a high of 24 in Winnipeg. Very similar in Brandon as well, with high humidity across southern Manitoba. And up in Thompson, mix of sun and cloud, chance of showers for you today, and a high of 25. So welcome to the Thursday show. Let's say hi to the crew. Sierra Sanders is directing the program and will be on air covering your commute. Good morning, Mr. Abby Adeyemi in the control room behind our senior tech behind the controls. Abby will also bring you the weather throughout the show. And the return of Travis Peterson, who is producing our YouTube stream. So say hi to Trav if you're watching there. We always stream the show live, and you get extra content because you get all those visuals and you get to see us in the morning. So thanks for being with us. All right, let's get to Heather Wells. It is the show's on till 8:37. Heather's with us throughout the morning, and here's her first headlines. Good morning.
Good morning. Well, we'll be keeping a watch on the situation in Venezuela, where two strong back-to-back earthquakes have hit. The death toll there is climbing, now at 164 at least, expected to climb substantially as the full measure of the result of those earthquakes becomes known as daylight. Brings about a clearer vision of what's happening. So we'll hear the latest coming up on World Report. We're also going to hear about the reeve of the arm of Montcalm. 6 weeks after a windstorm clogged rural drains with tons of dirt and debris, that's all become mud because of rain. He is calling for disaster financial assistance. More news from Winnipeg coming up at 6:30.
All right, thanks, Heather.
Thanks.
Right after 6 o'clock, we'll have this.
Serving South Winnipeg and Waverly West has been one of the most meaningful experiences of my life, and I thank you for the privilege.
That is Deputy Mayor and Waverly West City Councillor Janice Luke saying she will not seek re-election this fall. That story developed yesterday. We'll hear more about it in the first hour. Also, there's a weather disaster management expert in Winnipeg right now. We're going to talk to them on the show today. Right now, World Report.
Q. If you haven't heard of Diljit Dosanjh yet, you will. He's a Punjabi singer and actor who became the first Punjabi artist to play Coachella, to sell out Madison Square Garden. He'll be here to tell you his incredible origin story, and will break down why his outfit at the Met Gala made so much news around the world. Q with Tom Power this morning at 10:30 in Newfoundland, and on CBC Listen or wherever you get your podcasts.
This is World Report. Good morning. I'm Marcia Young. People cheering as first responders in Venezuela carry an injured man out on a stretcher. Back-to-back earthquakes hit the northern coast last night. The quakes reached 7.2 and 7.5 magnitudes. They are among the strongest to strike Venezuela in more than a century. At least 164 people are dead. More than 970 are injured in Caracas alone. But officials warn the full scale of the disaster is still unknown. Corey Weddle has our story.
Videos from Simón Bolívar International Airport near Caracas show dust pouring through cracks in the ceiling as the building rumbles.
Terremoto de alta magnitud.
The terminal floor is buried under chunks of concrete and fallen ceiling tiles. Other footage show high-rise apartment buildings completely collapsed.
A esta hora tenemos reportes.
Acting President Delcy Rodriguez says authorities are dealing with a mounting casualty count, with mass injuries reported across the capital region. Residents describe a terrifying ordeal. Alejandro Narvaez was on the 8th floor of his apartment building with his mother.
I tried to stay calm for her, but in fact I was really worried. We were sitting in the living room. I tried to hold her. I just repeat, calm.
Decenas de edificios colapsados.
Rodriguez says dozens of buildings have collapsed and crews are working through the night to rescue those trapped beneath the rubble. The coastal region was hit the hardest. Reporter Orle Francamaya visited a local police station where victims were seeking urgent help.
Lesiones en las rodillas, cortaduras.
He said he is seeing widespread injuries, including severe cuts, head wounds, and broken bones. International rescue teams are expected to arrive in the disaster zone later this morning. Cody Weddle for CBC News, Bogota.
1 in 10 Canadian ER patients waits more than 14 hours for care. A new report from the Canadian Institute for Health Information says it is the worst for people needing a hospital bed. Maureen Armstrong's 81-year-old mother spent more than 2 days stranded in a Windsor, Ontario emergency room this week.
Canada, that's supposed to be a healthcare country that's supposed to take care of their people, and we pay taxes in order to do that. And nobody really minds that too much because we know that we're going to get the care that we deserve, but it's not happening.
Healthcare analysts say the delays are a system-wide issue. They say critical nursing shortages and a severe lack of long-term care beds are to blame. Israel is accelerating forced evictions of Palestinian families in East Jerusalem. The Israeli NGO Ir Amim warns it could lead to the largest expulsion of Palestinians in the occupied territory since 1967. This year alone, 18 families have been evicted from their homes in the basin of the Old City, and several homes are being demolished. Crystal Gomansing reports from Jerusalem.
School groups and tourists look curiously at demonstrators in Silwan as they pass to enter the city of David, a site dedicated to King David and Jerusalem's ancient history. The history of Palestinians in the area is what demonstrators are trying to highlight and ultimately protect.
This house is not stones for me.
Abdel Halim Shaloudi's house backs onto the City of David National Park. It was claimed under Israel's absentee property law.
I never knew a house except this one.
His parents rented it in 1964. The owner died years ago. The state, he says, ordered him to pay 10 years' worth of back rent or leave.
It's not the only one.
Ruud Miram is with the NGO Ir Mim, one of the rally organizers.
It's not for nothing that Silwan specifically is being targeted in such a way in all sorts of mechanisms to displace people and erase the cultural, historical narrative of this area.
Her group says 27 other families face evictions in the coming months after exhausting legal avenues. Human Rights Watch recently noted the actions in Silwan, restating a 2024 International Court of Justice advisory opinion that practices, including forcible evictions and extensive demolitions in East Jerusalem, were contrary to Article 49 of the Fourth Geneva Convention.
I will walk out of here. I won't crawl.
His eviction deadline was Thursday, but says his family now has until Sunday to leave. Crystal Gomansing, CBC News, Silwan in occupied East Jerusalem.
In Kenya, Police move in on protesters in Nairobi. The situation turns violent. Heavily armed officers begin arresting demonstrators. They're marking 2 years since anti-government protests saw the storming of the country's parliament. More than 60 people were killed during the so-called Gen Z demonstrations. They were in response to government tax hikes that were eventually withdrawn. A former national chief of the Assembly of First Nations says he plans to sue the Canadian government. He's angry over Ottawa's past surveillance of Indigenous leaders, and he says the RCMP's acknowledgement of regret is not enough. The CBC's Brett Forster has more on the so-called Native Extremism program.
There's nothing extreme about me.
Ovid Mercredi is an accomplished Cree leader and former two-term Assembly of First Nations national chief. But as he flips through a heavy stack of declassified intelligence papers, Mercredi feels compelled to set the record straight.
I don't appreciate being called an extreme native because I'm not a terrorist.
He's reacting to a CBC News investigation that found the RCMP's security service spied extensively on legitimate Indigenous organizations from 1968 to 1983. But CBC also found the Canadian Security Intelligence Service revived the so-called Native Extremism program and ran it through the 1990s. And Mercredi is equally outraged to see his name in a 1997 domestic counter-terrorism report from CSIS.
So this idea that we're terrorists, that our movement is an extreme movement that puts the country in danger, that's another stereotype.
Mercredi says an apology won't be enough. He intends to sue the federal government to get justice, answers, and change. Cree leader Saul Sanderson, who was spied on in Saskatchewan in the 1970s, agrees.
I'm looking for compensation for myself and my family. They damaged our history. They damaged our leadership. They damaged our livelihood.
In a statement, Public Safety Minister Gary Ananda Sangari's office says the government takes these matters seriously and will work with Indigenous leaders to ensure accountability. The RCMP expressed its regret in March and has declined further comment. CSIS has said it no longer engages in race-based intelligence investigations and is committed to mending relations. Brett Forster, CBC News, Ottawa.
Thousands of World Cup fans are calling for outside investigations into StubHub. CBC News broke the story about the resale site failing to deliver tickets to fans across North America. The CBC's Dave Seglins tells us some fans say politicians and regulators need to look into what they claim amounts to fraud.
There are many people out there affected by this situation with StubHub.
Jeff Ripley of Spokane, Washington, says StubHub failed to deliver his family's tickets for a recent U.S. match in Seattle, tickets he bought in December.
I think they're a con. Excuse me, but...
This week, he's filed complaints with the Washington State Attorney General and the U.S. Federal Trade Commission.
They didn't do due diligence to ensure that the person listing tickets actually had physical possession of the tickets.
This practice is called speculative ticketing. StubHub insists it doesn't allow it. But StubHub relies on an honor system, letting scalpers and resellers declare they actually possess the tickets that they advertise for resale. Brad Clemens is a lawyer in California who has 159 cases against StubHub. He says the company often drags things out and says in the past week he's been contacted by 50 new people, all fighting for World Cup refunds.
I think that they are the most predatory company in my 44 years of existence that I have ever seen. I mean, they are literally sitting on money that they know they have no right to, of both buyers and sellers.
StubHub insists it honors its money-back guarantee, but Clement warns that those who've been stiffed by StubHub may need to file formal paperwork within 30 days and may have to go to arbitration to get their money back. Dave Seglin, CBC News, Toronto.
And in case you missed it, Canada will face South Africa in a sudden death match at the World Cup this Sunday. The game kicks off in Los Angeles. That is the latest national and international news from World Report. News anytime, cbcnews.ca. I'm Marcia Young.
Well, hi, everyone. How you doing this morning? Welcome to Thursday's show. I'm Marcy Marcusa. This is Information Radio on 89.3 FM, 990 AM on that app and YouTube. June 25th. Lots of grad photos floating around out there. We're going to talk to one of the valedictorians in our province from Garden Hill, in fact, coming up in the next hour of the program. This hour, though, we're going to talk to someone who is not graduating but is leaving. Winnipeg City Councillor Janice Lukes has announced she will not run for re-election. That news developing yesterday. We're going to hear more from her this hour. In addition, this hour on the program, you might have heard on World Report, if you were tuning in, that there's a new report shedding light on long emergency room wait times. It's something we've talked about a lot in Manitoba. We're going to talk to an expert to understand why the source, in their view, lies beyond the hospital, according to some of the new research and data. So stay tuned. That's coming up in more detail just before 7 o'clock. Right now, Heather Wells has news stories that are developing today in our headlines.
Good morning. Well, an independent Winnipeg grocer is not convinced a downtown grocery store can survive. Red River Co-op will open a full-service food store and pharmacy as part of the Portage Place redevelopment. Food Fair owner Munther Zeed says every downtown retailer has a major shoplifting issue, and he believes the grocery store in downtown Winnipeg would face the same challenges, and the province, he says, needs to provide around-the-clock security. So we'll hear more coming up. And a Winnipeg elementary school is getting a new name to sever its connection with a problematic figure in Canadian history. Dalhousie School in Fort Richmond is going to get a new name, and in September, I'll tell you what it is coming up in our next local news at 6:30.
And it follows suit. Will Dalhousie University now change, right?
Right, yeah. Exactly.
Thanks, Heather.
You're welcome.
Let's get into what's happening in the weather forecast. Good morning, Abby Adiyemi.
Good morning, Marcy. We're looking at a warm day ahead across the province. We will see a mix of sun and clouds at some point spanning across the province. Just a very slim chance of showers later today. But here in the Red River Valley region, we're looking at sun already making its way here. It's going to transition to a mix of sun and clouds and a small risk of later showers and thunderstorms later. We're looking at temperatures between 16 and 13 degrees right now in the city, and similar conditions across the southern parts of the province. Plenty of sunshine in the forecast. Highs would be around 24. We creep close to 25 today.
All right, thanks, Abby.
Thank you.
25 and the 25th. Let's find out about your commute. Sierra Sanders is in. Good morning.
Good morning, Marcy. Not too much going on out there here as we kick off the show, but if that does change throughout the morning, the number to call is 204-788-3093.
Well, earlier this week, John Arlico, longtime city councillor, said he will not run in River Heights. And then yesterday, Janice Lukes telling reporters she is also not going to seek re-election. She has been a 3-term city councillor and deputy mayor as well. And in case you missed her prepared speech where she announced that she's not going to run again, that's where we're starting the show this morning.
After 12 years of serving the people of South Winnipeg and Waverley West, I have made the decision not to seek re-election in the 2026 civic election. I was first elected in 2014 to serve the residents of St. Norbert, South Winnipeg Ward. In 2018, following electoral boundary changes, I ran in the newly formed Waverley West Ward and was acclaimed. In 2022, I ran again and received 80% of the vote. Over the past 12 years, residents kept electing me to focus on 4 key areas: rectifying illegal and unsafe student housing crisis and bylaw violations around the University of Manitoba. I'm thrilled to say we've developed thousands of new apartments together in partnership with developers. Another issue they wanted me to work on was securing land to find funding and build a new RET campus and fire paramedic station. I secured $128 million for Phase 1 of the RET campus and $1.2 million to study and design Phase 2, a new aquatic centre, and secured a temporary and funded permanent fire and paramedic station. Also, people have elected me to increase the active transportation budget and improve road safety. I'm so proud to say that I championed record investments in active transportation. I oversaw a complete revamp of the snow and ice removal on sidewalks and pathways, which was huge in my world. And this is a personal one. I initiated a road safety policy, including the creation of a department, annual budget, and staff. I did that in memory of my father, which is great for everyone. And I maximize value for taxpayers. One of the things that I'm really pleased about under the new CAO who came on board, the mayor was on board, to champion the development of a continuous improvement unit. That is so important, focused on improving processes, because so many of the processes here are repetitive. While working to deliver on these election commitments, I also oversaw the construction and development of the fastest growing quadrant in the city of Winnipeg. In over 50 years, there's never been a quadrant that's grown as fast. We built a city where 72,000 people live now. I'm sincerely grateful for the trust residents have placed in me to lead on these initiatives and on so many other initiatives. I will be forever honored by the friendship, support, and encouragement that residents have shown me throughout this journey. I have incredible residents in the Waverley West Ward. I want to thank Mayor Gillingham, my council colleagues, for so much significant support on many of these initiatives. Not all the support, not from every councillor, but the majority, as well as the public service for their hard work and commitment in delivering these projects. It's also been an honor to serve as one of only 34 women who have been elected to City Council in Winnipeg's 151-year history, and to serve the residents of Winnipeg in the role of Deputy Mayor, Acting Deputy Mayor, Chair of Public Works, and Co-Chair of the Winnipeg Metropolitan Region. Today, the Waverley West Ward has reached an exciting new stage in its evolution. The majority of residents have moved in and settled, strong foundations for the community have been laid, important projects are underway, and there's a strong focus on youth and community well-being and social issues. Now is the right time for vibrant new leadership to build on the successes we have achieved together and guide the ward through its next chapter of growth and opportunity. And it is my sincere hope that we will see another woman lead and continue shaping the future of the Waverley West Ward. I will continue to serve as councillor for Waverley West until the completion of my term in October. I've got a lot to do yet, and I will do everything I can to support a smooth transition, to shape the smooth transition for the next councillor. We've done a lot of work there, and we want to have a seamless transition. To everyone who's been part of this 12-year journey, to residents, volunteers, community organizations, city staff, colleagues, local businesses, the contractors and developers who I've worked so closely with, and the builders, I want to thank them. Serving South Winnipeg and Waverley West has been one of the most meaningful experiences of my life, and I thank you for the privilege. Ooh.
You want a second?
I'm fine.
Why are you doing this once? Okay,
Hey?
why are you quitting? Why are you leaving?
Because the ward is at a great stage to hand off. It is at an incredible. We've built things. We've got projects on the go. We've got studies on the go. It's a lot of work to get things, to get a piece of the pie in the city. We've got a lot on the go, and I want to go out on a high note of doing good work. I want to be able to hand it off to someone else and for that person to pick up and run with it. So now's the right time from that perspective. And for me personally, it's the right time. You know in your heart in many things in life when it's the right time. And this is the right time for me.
That is three-term City Councillor and Deputy Mayor Janice Luke speaking at City Hall yesterday. She will not seek re-election this fall. We don't have clarity about what she's planning on doing next, but she is the second longtime councillor to say she will not seek re-election. Earlier, just 5 days ago, within the last week, River Heights Fort Garry councillor John Orlico also announced that he would not be running. We have until June 30th for the full slate of mayoral candidates, so people can register up until June 30th, so 5 more days here. And then we will find out who else is going to be in the race and who is going to be out of the race for councillors. We're still waiting to hear decisions from others, including St. Vitel's Brian Mays. We are going to the polls on October 28th, so I was doing the math here, which is why you can hear me kind of struggling to do the math. But that's 4 months and 3 days from today.
This Canada Day, let's celebrate on CBC with special coverage, highlights from events across the country, and wrapping up the day with a giant concert featuring performances by Bare Naked Ladies, Alessia Cara, Beatrice Deer and Sylvia Cloutier, Dominique Fils-Aimé, the Tragically Hip's Paul Langlois, and more, including fireworks lighting up the night sky over the capital. Celebrate your Canada, July 1st, everywhere you get CBC.
We will be at the Forks. So Kevin Napatebo, as well as Corey Funk and myself, are going to be live doing hits to represent Winnipeg and represent Manitoba. So if you want to be there too, come and say hi as we hit live into Adrian Arsenault's show between 10 and 2 next Wednesday. The time right now is 6:21 a.m. on 89.3 FM, 9:90 a.m. on the app and on YouTube. Well, next on the show, boat builders in Spain are close to completing a piece of Canadian history. They have built an exact replica of a Spanish galleon that once sailed to Canada to hunt whales. The project is rebuilding connections that were first made 500 years ago. Pretty cool story. Peter Cowan's here to tell us more. He was recently in Spain checking out the ship, and he's with us, as I said. Hi there.
Good morning, Marcy.
Tell us about this ship.
Okay, well, if you close your eyes and picture a Spanish galleon, this is probably pretty close to what you're imagining. It's 28 meters long, so just over 50 feet. It has 3 masts. It's kind of high in the front, high in the back, all made of wood. It's tied up in the harbor in Pasea, which is a small town on the north coast of Spain. Picture rolling hills with those red tile roofs. It's been the center for shipbuilding for centuries, and over the past decade, they've built this ship by hand using traditional techniques. It's an exact replica of a ship called the San Juan that in the 1560s sailed to what is now Canada in search of whales. At that time, whale oil was very valuable in Europe. It was there to light lamps and lubricate machinery. And the Basques were businessmen. They traveled over and hunted whales, tens of thousands of them, bringing the oil back and selling it in Europe. But recreating this ship has been a lifelong dream for Xavier Agote, who is a shipbuilder in the Basque Country. He's created a cultural factory where they use these traditional techniques to build boats. He brought me into the shipyard where they're busy transforming long oak logs into yard arms that will hold up the ship's sails. And when you talk with him, you can really sense a lot of pride in the work they're doing.
We are a tiny country, that we were just a very few of us. So I'm very proud of my ancestors. I am, really. And I think that this project is highlighting that genius, is retrieving something that we lost. The best of ourselves, it is represented by the San Juan.
Well, why did the culture, as he alluded to there, around boat building fade away in the first place?
Well, if I take you back to the 1500s when the original San Juan was built in that exact same harbor, there were no plans written down. This was something that your father taught you and you passed it on to your children. And over the centuries, that knowledge just kind of faded away. And along with it, the knowledge of that whaling industry in North America. It was kind of North America's first oil boom. Before the 1970s, all the history books said is, yeah, there were some Basques. They came to Canada to fish, but we didn't really know any more than that. That never sat well with Canadian-British historian Selma Huxley Barkham. She moved her family to the Basque Country, and she went into church basements, old archives, and dug up any legal contracts, things like insurance contracts or wills, looking for mentions of Terra Nova, as the Basques called Newfoundland and Labrador. And today, her son Michael Barkham has continued his late mother's work. He took me to the regional archives in the town of Onati, and he pulled out an old book from the 1560s and turned to a page with an old power of attorney. And he read me a little bit of it because this was the first time that we learned about the San Juan.
The whale oil, grasas de ballena de Lanao, that belonged to Ramos de Borda, named the San Juan, which was lost and ran aground loaded with whale oil in the port of Buetes, which is in Terra Nova.
And so why was that key detail so important?
Well, because it gave the name of a ship, and secondly, the key in terms of locating it, it gave a port in North America. I mean, that's quite amazing.
So they started looking for some physical evidence of this ship, and it led them to Red Bay in southern Labrador, where they found red tiles on the beach, those same red roofing tiles that you found in Spain. So they knew they were in the right spot. And when they went under the waters, they found the wreck of the San Juan. It turned out to be the best preserved 16th century Spanish galleon that anyone had ever found. And over a couple of decades, Parks Canada cataloged all 3,000 pieces of this ship. And that gave Agate the blueprint that he needed to completely replicate this ship down to every fastener and timber.
That's fascinating. Tiles on the beach. That's if you saw that in the movie, you'd go, no, that's not how it happened.
Well, and the funny thing is, local people just thought that these were old bricks or something. They skipped them across the ocean. They didn't realize these were 500-year-old artifacts they had right in front of them.
Wow. While you were in Spain, who else did you meet from Canada?
Yeah, there was a whole contingent there for the Maritime Festival in Paseo, where Canada was recognized as the guest of honor because of that shared heritage. The first day it was absolutely pouring rain, so Agate joked that he ordered up some Newfoundland and Labrador weather just for that authentic experience. But part of this group was Indigenous boat builders and leaders from Canada who were there to really rebuild relationships that first started 500 years ago. Noah Nukasak is from Nain on the north coast of Labrador, and he builds and paddles traditional Inuit kayaks. And he had a wooden frame there, and lots of people came up and asked him about it, and through an interpreter he was able to chat about Canadian boat building techniques. But he's also there learning.
The passion that the other boat builders have is quite amazing. They showed us some of their techniques and illustration. Yeah, I thought it was pretty amazing actually to learn from them as well. In the end, we're all human and we're all on the ocean, so we have so much in common.
Now, when the Basques first came to Canada, the relationships with Indigenous people varied a lot. So, for example, with the Innu, the Europeans wrote that they were quite friendly. They exchanged goods and food. They helped them fish and catch whales. But with other Indigenous groups, it was more hostile. They wrote that Inuit attacked them with bows and arrows. And so when I was chatting with the president of Nunatsiavut, which represents Inuit in northern Labrador, he said he'd like to start this new relationship with an apology from the Basque Country or Spain for the negative impacts of European contact, things like diseases and alcohol, which still affect Inuit today.
So what's next for the ship itself?
Well, this may be the hardest part for the story of the San Juan, because Agate plans to sail the ship back to Canada to recreate a voyage that hasn't been done in hundreds of years.
Getting to Canada is very important for us because we are so grateful that we want to express our gratefulness to all Canadians for such an extraordinary gift that you gave to us, the knowledge that we forgot completely, that we lost from our memory.
They have a lot of work to do, like learning to sail the ship, and everything about this is going to be authentic. No engine on board. The clothes will even be traditional furs, so no Gore-Tex jackets. But they hope to complete the voyage in 2028 to return to Red Bay. A bit of good news for the whales, though, Marcy. They're not going to be that authentic. The only thing they're bringing back is cultural connections. No whale oil this time.
Did you ask to be on board?
Well, they are looking for Canadian crew. I don't know what you're doing in 2028 if you've got about a month and a half to spare.
I'd be nervous.
But
that's quite an undertaking.
And not a lot of modern conveniences. I did not see a bathroom on board that ship when I toured it. So,
all right, Peter, thanks for the story.
Oh, thank you.
And if you were watching on YouTube, you got a picture of the ship as well, which is just like something out of Pirates of the Caribbean. And I'm sorry, that's my only reference. It's a terrible reference, but it really is quite something to think that they'll be sailing that back to Canada. That's the plan. Peter Cowan, senior reporter on the story for Newfoundland and Labrador. You can watch his documentary about the San Juan tonight on The National, or you can catch it right now on The National's YouTube channel. Thanks for joining us on our YouTube channel or on the airwaves here on 89.3 this morning on CBC. I'm Marcy Marcusa. And coming up, we have business news. Crystal Ramlakan is standing by to join us here on the air. And today in her report, the Canadian dollar has steadily fallen over the past several weeks. It's trading around 70 cents US. We'll find out more about what's behind the number. And there's a new forecast on Canada's economy out this morning as well. So we'll get more detail on that. If you need us in traffic, please call Sierra on our commuter line, 788-3093, whether you're in Winnipeg or in another city or town or community across Manitoba. We'll pass along any traffic details you have on the streets or the highways. And hopefully everything's running smoothly so far. Your CBC Winnipeg News is next.
This is CBC News. Good morning. I'm Heather Wells in Winnipeg. At 6:30, it is 16 degrees. Beautiful morning in Winnipeg. Sunshine. We will see some clouds roll through later this afternoon with a slight chance of a shower, risk of a thunderstorm as well. Near normal high today of 24. An independent Winnipeg grocer is not convinced a grocery store can survive in this city's downtown. Red River Co-op will open a full-service food store and pharmacy as part of the Portage Place redevelopment. Food fair owner Munther Zeed says every downtown retailer has a major shoplifting issue. He believes a grocery store would face the same challenges.
Not unless they want to provide the security at the government expense. You want me to open up a grocery store? Give me a building with a parking lot and you provide the security. I'll take my chances. But I need police, not security, police, 24/7 at the government's expense.
Red River Co-op plans to open the new downtown Winnipeg grocery store in 2029. Well, after years without a sitting mayor or council, some people in Leaf Rapids want their municipal government back. The province took over that town's affairs in 2019. Since then, Leanna Anderson says Leaf Rapids has only fallen into decay. Most recently, RCMP received reports of several crimes believed to be gang-related. Crime safety is not the only concern in Leaf Rapids. Anderson says the town's only grocery store has also announced it may need to close.
To be able to have a roof over your head, to feel safe, to be able to have a full belly from eating, to not feel thirsty because you're able to drink. In Leaf Rapids, we don't have that. There's safety concerns, there's housing shortages, there's food security issues.
Anderson says people need a voice in government to address Leaf Rapids' problems. The province says it will continue working with the local CAO to fulfill basic municipal operations. 6 weeks after a windstorm clogged rural drains with tons of dirt and debris, the Reeve of Montcalm says they are far from dug out. Reeve Paul Gilmore says only a quarter of the work is done and more rain slows things down and floods farms. Gilmore says Montcalm needs $2 million in provincial disaster financial assistance to dig out of their financial hole.
I know the flood situation in the Swan River and the other areas is quite drastic and good for WOB Canoe to having announced a DFA for them right away. But we consider this a pretty drastic situation. I mean, there's no way we can dig $2 million out of our reserve and jeopardize our future, you know.
Neighboring RMs of Morris, Emerson Franklin, and Rhineland are also asking the province for financial support. The province says their requests are still under review. Catastrophic earthquakes have hit Venezuela. Responders pulling victims from the debris of collapsed high-rise apartment buildings. That's the scene in Venezuela's capital following two back-to-back earthquakes. They were 7.2 and 7.5 magnitude yesterday evening, and they are among the strongest to strike Venezuela in more than a century. Global rescue teams are touching down in the country over the next few hours to help search for survivors. The death toll is climbing in Venezuela. Right now, confirmed at least 164 people are dead. That is expected to climb substantially. You can hear the latest on this story as it develops coming up on World Report at 7. An elementary school in Winnipeg is going to have a new name when classes resume in the fall. Ani Bimaman School was chosen from 55 submissions as the new name for Dalhousie School in Fort Richmond. It's an Anishinaabe-Moan word meaning summer berries. Tori Patzer is the Assistant Superintendent of Pembina Trails School Division.
We want all kids to feel connected to their own culture and their own identity and see themselves in New Zealand school.
For half a century, the kindergarten to grade 5 school in Fort Richmond bore the name of the 9th Earl of Dalhousie. He served as lieutenant governor in Nova Scotia in the early 19th century and was the founder of Dalhousie University in Halifax. But he also was known to support slavery and policies that marginalized Black people. Well, Flin Flon celebrated its high school graduating class in its own special way yesterday. A citywide water fight. Who doesn't want to do that when they graduate? The high school grads getting hit with a fire hose at Hapnock Collegiate's annual grad car parade. People spraying the grads with hoses, throwing water balloons. Grads like Ariana Belisle and Taylor Burwash were ready to fight back.
We got about 1,000 balloons.
I'd say 2,000 balloons.
About 2,000. We probably spent $100 on this at least. Nobody is ready for us.
Flin Flon School will host a more formal, drier graduation ceremony tomorrow. And the Canadian men's soccer team advanced to the next round of the World Cup despite yesterday's loss to Switzerland in Vancouver. And we now know who Canada plays next. Last night, South Africa beat South Korea, moving to the so-called knockout round. So Canada faces South Africa this Sunday in Los Angeles. The time in Manitoba to see that game is 2 o'clock Sunday afternoon. You can find the latest news updated throughout the day at cbc.ca/Manitoba.
Heather, you're talking about all the grad stories. I know I mentioned my sister is retiring from teaching after more than 30 years. Yesterday, this picture popped up in my feed of her. I guess someone had given her a slushy drink, and it says on it, "Every sip tastes like it's not my problem anymore."
That's awesome.
Retirement jokes. Oh, there's going to be a lot of tears, though. She absolutely loved teaching. And I love this time of year to hear, those connections between teachers and students and the messages from everyone. We have a valedictorian from Garden Hill on live with us after 7 today, so I'm looking forward to it.
Well, I'll be listening. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks, Heather.
Thank you.
Heather is with us through the morning. So next, local news coming up at 7:30. Of course, she's here with headlines in between. Right now, though, it's time to dip into what's going on weather-wise. Your regional forecast with Abby Adeyemi.
Good morning. We are set for a warm summer day under partly cloudy skies with a slim chance of afternoon showers and some thunderstorms developing both across the south and the northern regions. But looking at conditions here in Winnipeg, it's already a sunny morning. We will see our highs creep close to 25 degrees. There's a slim chance of late showers or thunderstorms towards the evening period, and that would change to partly cloudy conditions overnight. Similar conditions we'll see tomorrow. We're looking at temperatures around 16 at the Forks and 12 at the airport. Windy conditions today, and it's really going to be hovering around that 14, 15 before we get to that 24 later. Similar conditions across the southern regions. We're seeing 8 to 14. A warm afternoon ahead from Modern towards Port de Perry. We're seeing 14 degrees there right now. It's sunny, warming up to 25. Brandon towards Nipo, we're seeing clear skies, also sunny conditions there. 8 degrees at this time. Highs only get to 23. In the Dauphin area, we're seeing clear conditions there. 11 at this time, high of 25. While Gimli and nearby areas tracking 14 degrees right now, a high of 14. Then we cross over into the central part of the province. The PAR is kind of foggy at 10 degrees at this time, while Flin Flon seeing some sunny conditions at 11. Both regions will hit a high of 26. Norway Houses at 16 and cloudy, aiming for 26 with a good chance of showers in the forecast. And then Thompson, Lynn Lake, Gillam to Doodle Lake, we're seeing partly to mostly cloudy conditions there between 11 and 13 degrees with uniform highs of 25s and 26. But for Churchill, sunny, still just below that single digit point of 4 degrees at this time, warming to 15. But we'll see the mild eastern winds present in that part of the province. So it's more like a widespread mix of sunny conditions and cloudy conditions in the mix, along with just some breezy conditions. For the city, we're expecting a warm day hitting a high of 24 today.
It sure poured yesterday, huh?
Yes, Marcy, it sure did.
Yeah. I had my blinds up, so I wasn't watching it, but I could hear it, and I didn't want to sort of alert my dogs to it too much, so we were just I didn't get up to look, but I realized I left a window open in one of the rooms, and it was just wet.
And sometime, I think around 7:30, I thought someone pushed the desk over because there was this loud thunder, crack, and bang that happened.
Yeah, I heard that as well.
I was
in
like,
that part of the
ooh,
city.
ooh, fell. And then I looked, I was like, okay, it's just thunder crawling past.
Mother Nature fell.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's get into what's going on in the commute with Sierra Sanders.
Hi, Marcy. Not too much going on in the commute so far this morning, which is good for folks out there. To me, it sounds like things are moving along pretty well out there. But if that does change, I'd love to hear about it. So give me a call on the CBC commuter line. That number is 204-788-3093.
All right, thanks, Sierra. Let's go to Christely Ramlakan. She is here via Zoom. She's here with her business news, as she is each and every morning. Nice to see you.
Yes, nice to see you. Good morning, Marcy.
Morning. So let's start with the Canadian dollar, which is steadily falling over the past several weeks, or fallen. It's now trading around 70 cents US. So what's behind it?
Yeah, so it's caught between a weak domestic economy and strong demand for the U.S. dollar. So as of early May, the loonie was trading around 74 cents U.S., but Carl Shimada, who leads Corpay's currency research group, says the U.S. dollar has been kind of crushing all of its global rivals. As the AI boom in the U.S. attracts more investment, companies turn higher profits, and the economy there performs better than expected. And the Bank of Canada is broadly expected to keep interest rates steady for the remainder of the year, while investors have been forecasting possible hikes from the U.S. Federal Reserve. And that interest rate differential between the two countries could draw capital out of Canada and toward the U.S., pushing the loonie down against the greenback even more. But the chief currency strategist at Scotiabank says he sees the loonie rebounding to about 75 cents U.S. later this year, based on his own expectations that the U.S. Federal Reserve cuts rates this year, while the Bank of Canada ups its overnight rate, shrinking that rate differential. So we'd possibly see a better dollar, but also higher interest rates.
There's also a new forecast on Canada's economy overall coming out this morning. What are the details?
Yes, so Deloitte is forecasting economic growth to come in at 0.7% this year before rising to 2% next year. And the new report says trade tensions, energy costs, and lower confidence, of course, have been weighing on the economy. But Deloitte chief economist Dawn Desjardins says she expects some clarity on some of those issues will spur business investment and job creation. So Statistics Canada said in May that economic growth stalled in the first quarter. The second straight quarter GDP shrank, meeting the definition of a technical recession. However, many economists pushed back on calling that weakness a recession. And Desjardins agrees, saying she thinks Canada's economy is in a period of stagnation, not a recession. And she says recessions typically see weakness across the broader economy, not limited to certain sectors that are deeply affected by tariffs.
And finally, this morning, you have a third story here about Spotify. They've removed thousands of podcasts from its platforms. Why have they done it?
Well, it's because they were phony podcasts promoting illegal online pharmacies. So last May, Spotify also removed dozens of podcasts that promoted online pharmacies selling drugs such as Adderall and Oxycontin, in some cases without a prescription. And then a U.S. senator launched an investigation into those fake podcasts. And the investigation's findings this month raise questions now about Spotify's ability to proactively detect and remove potentially harmful content. So the senator says the company should have acted faster and alerted law enforcement to this content. And parents, experts, and lawmakers have urged tech giants to do more to prevent the sale of counterfeit or illicit drugs to young people after multiple teens have died of overdoses from pills bought online. So Spotify says the phony podcasts were a spam attack designed to boost the online pharmacies' visibility in search engines and told investigators they were not targeted at selling drugs to Spotify users specifically. And Spotify says 94% of the phony podcasts had never even been streamed. But, a handful had been listened to more widely, including 2 totaling almost 13,000 streams that directed users to buy a prescription stimulant online, including with Bitcoin. Now, it's not clear how many Spotify users may have clicked through to these websites selling drugs, because the company says it doesn't track the interaction with hyperlinks embedded in podcast content. And investigators also found a small number of similar phony podcasts on other streaming platforms as well.
Interesting story. Thank you very much for bringing that and more to us, and we'll talk to you again on the show tomorrow.
Thanks, Marcy.
That's Christelle Ramlichan on your Thursday morning show with your business news. 6:45, end of school creeping near, people thinking about holidays and all that good stuff, and the summer months settling in. It's our first full week at summer. It's 16 degrees currently in Winnipeg. Today's high is 24, humidex 27, and we also have a chance of a shower today again. Less of a chance, though, than yesterday, so we'll see if that actually develops. Coming up still ahead in this half hour, we're going to talk more about a story that's on World Report this morning. There's a new report out. It sheds light on long emergency room wait times. We're going to talk to someone to understand why the source actually lies beyond the hospital in this report's findings. So stay tuned. That's coming up. Right now, though, Canadians can now risk their money in prediction markets. These are basically online trading platforms where users buy yes or no contracts based on the outcome of future real-world events, such as weather or interest rates. Now, this is already popular in places like the UK and the US. It's a new way of quote-unquote investing, but it's worrying experts who say it's just another form of gambling. Personal finance columnist Rubina Ahmed Huck has more.
Will today's high in Los Angeles reach 78 degrees? Will Raheem Emanuel be a U.S. presidential candidate? Will Bitcoin hit $100,000? These are some of the predictions users can bet on in the U.S. prediction markets. And now that same format is coming here. In March, the Canadian Investment Regulatory Organization approved the use of these yes-no contracts. They are marketed as another tool for building wealth, but critics say that's not what they are.
I would want them to realize it is gambling.
Li Zhang is a financial literacy leader with Chartered Professional Accountants of Canada. She's worried about how prediction markets are going to be used, especially by younger Canadians.
The CPA Canada commissioned a report recently with sports betting and online gambling and prediction markets. And what we're seeing in the stats right now is how these products are really being utilized or will be utilized by younger Canadians. And when I say younger, I'm looking to 18 to 34-year-olds. And it will skew mainly male. And so we're looking at, what this opens up in terms of, financial stability in the future.
Prediction trading in Canada will be more tightly controlled compared to the U.S. For example, trades can only be made on certain subjects such as economic indicators, financial markets, and climate trends, but not sports, elections, or pop culture.
Prediction markets exist in sort of the space where aspects of it are financial trading, but some aspects of it are like gambling.
Andrew Kim is a psychology professor and gambling and addictions expert at Toronto Metropolitan University. He applauds Canada's tighter rules on yes-no contracts. He says limiting the subjects to bet on makes it less interesting to regular gamblers.
Because I don't think it's something that would interest them too much, especially if you're someone that bets on sports and you do that recreationally. I can't see why then you suddenly be interested in politics. Now, where I can see people getting into it, are those that do not bet on sports, do not like gambling, but maybe are into finances and politics. And they find a way.
This is purely for entertainment purposes. That's the way you should treat this. And most people can do that responsibly.
Bo Humphreys is a recovering compulsive gambler. He was in active addiction for 20 years and on his worst day made and lost $20,000 at the casino. He doesn't see the harm in predictive trading, but says anyone who has a gambling addiction should stay away from it. He says gambling addicts are not going to all of a sudden relapse because a new product is available.
Well, the thing about gambling addiction is if you're gonna do it anyway. And the thing, you're gonna gamble with your friends. And none of that is regulated, right? You're going to go to a casino.
Online financial companies Wealthsimple and Interactive Brokers Canada will be offering prediction market trading in the future. Wealthsimple says they will work to educate users about the key risks of these trades, including the possibility of losing the full value of a position. Addiction specialist Professor Kim says there isn't enough research to forecast how predictive trading will be used. But like any gamble in life, users need to know what they are signing up for before they put their money in. For CBC Radio, I'm Rubina Ahmed Huck.
10 to 7 right now on 89.3 FM, 990 AM on the app and on YouTube. Rubina is the host of many of our personal finance columns, and you can check out more at online for her work at cbc.ca with links to many of her reports. It is Thursday morning. Thanks for joining us here on 89.3 FM. Next on the show, a new report on ER wait times that you might have heard about on World Report says that the times across Canada have found that 10% of admitted patients spend more than 2 days waiting to be admitted. Now, this is one of the many findings. The report from the Canadian Institute for Health Information, or CIHI, it also shows that the cause of those long waits often start outside of the hospital. Cheryl Chewy is Director of Health System Analytics at CIHI, and she joins us to talk about this. Good morning.
Good morning. Hi, Marcy. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here. So 48 hours. Overall, what did you find about wait times for admission to the ER?
Yeah, so in this report, we looked at emergency department wait times from a health system perspective. And as you said, we saw that most of the factors that were contributing to longer ER wait times really originate outside of the emergency department. So ER wait times are really a symptom of broader health system pressures that start upstream before the patient comes to the emergency department, as well as downstream, moving patients through the system.
What does that mean, like in practical language?
So I'll talk about upstream first. What we're seeing in the data is that patients who are arriving in the ER are sicker and more complex. So this could be due to a number of factors, including our aging population, increasing chronic conditions, and then challenges accessing primary care and specialist care in a timely way. So this translates into 2/3 of emergency department visits across Canada in 2024, 2025 being triaged as high acuity. So these are patients requiring life-saving, immediate, or very urgent care. And so when we looked at this compared to before the pandemic, this was an increase of 1.7 million more visits in that given year. So that's significant. And patients are also arriving at the ED with other conditions such as diabetes, high blood pressure, et cetera, in addition to the problem that they're presenting with. So this means that their assessment and their care is more complex and takes more time. So those are some examples of what we're seeing kind of coming from upstream that affects the people who are showing up at the emergency department.
And then downstream, you said, is also an issue. So what does that mean?
Yeah, so you mentioned the patients who require admission to hospital. So that is about 12% of patients who come through the emergency department need to be admitted to hospital for further care. And those are really the patients who spent the longest in the emergency department. As you said, 1 in 10 spent 48 hours or more in the emergency department, and they're waiting for a transfer to an inpatient bed. And so we see that these long waits for an acute care bed and delayed discharge into the community, so whether that's for long-term care, home care, or other supports after the hospital stay, are creating bottlenecks in the patient flow. And so an example there is that a typical hospital stay for someone who's admitted through the emergency department is 4 days. But there's a small segment of patients who are complex and need placement in long-term care, for example. They wait for 44 days. So that's a big difference, and it creates bottlenecks in the flow through the system, because what happens is that patients who are having these extended hospital stays are in the bed, which means that another patient cannot be moved into that hospital bed. And so that delays the transfer up from the emergency department, which then means that patients are waiting in the ED and being cared for by the emergency room staff. And that creates overcrowding and long wait times for everybody in the emergency department.
So we heard this reflected in Winnipeg. We interviewed a long-time nurse. She'd been there over 30 years at Health Sciences Centre, which is our biggest hospital here. And she was talking about the number of, just to speak to one segment of what you said there, elderly care patients that were in the ER. And then once they're there, she said you have to keep them because they need to be somewhere. And then it becomes a bed issue, becomes a ward issue, and you use the word bottleneck. When we focus on ER problems, we look at wait times and we often look at more efficiencies in the emergency room setting. You're talking about a bigger issue. So what are the bigger solutions then that you think should be implemented based on the findings in this country?
Yeah, so I think what the data really points to is that ER wait times are a symptom of a strained system, pressures in other parts of the health system. And so improving patient flow through the emergency room will require looking beyond the walls of the hospital. And our data suggests that improvements will need system-wide coordination across multiple sectors. That includes primary care, hospital care, home and community care, long-term care. And so, this is part of what makes it a tough challenge, because it does involve multiple sectors of care. But we are seeing initiatives across different parts of the country that are tackling this issue from that sort of coordinated system-wide perspective.
I have only a minute yet left, so I'm going to
sorry.
interject and ask you about that. No, I'm leaning into what you just said there. We are seeing some things that are working or being tried. Can you give us an example of something?
Yeah, so one example is a hospital at home or virtual acute care initiative. So these are programs that provide hospital level care in the patient's home, and they require coordination between the emergency department, hospital staff, home care, many providers to provide patients with the appropriate level of care at home to improve their patient experience, but then also to alleviate some of that pressure on the hospital capacity that we talked about. So that's one example, but there are many more. Yeah.
Where's hospital at home working?
So in a number of the Western provinces is where we've heard about it, but each circumstance is unique for a hospital and an emerge. So I think the solutions will need to be a combination of different things that serve the patient population of that area.
Thank you so much for your time today. Really appreciate it.
Okay, thank you.
That's Cheryl Chewy, Director of Health System Analytics at CIHI, the Canadian Institute for Health Information, with a new report we're about to hear more about it. In fact, on World Report, that they looked at ER wait times across the country. Interesting data there. Right now, it is 16, partly cloudy in Winnipeg. Our high today, 24. Chance of a shower this afternoon. Not as great of a chance as yesterday, but it certainly still could rain. In traffic on the commute, things looking good. 788-3093. If you do see any issues out there, let us know. In the next hour of the show, after 7 o'clock, we'll talk to a high school graduate about what being selected valedictorian meant to him. He graduated yesterday in Garden Hill. We'll hear his message to other kids in his community. If you're watching on YouTube, there's Joshua Joy McPherson. Love it. Also, 7:40, True North is going to see its first night market. Foods from all around the world. 2 big screens are hosting a FIFA watch party as well. So we're going to hear more about that in the next hour of the program. So stay with us. Right now, though, let's go to Heather Wells with headlines.
Good morning. Well, after years without a sitting mayor or council, some people in Leaf Rapids want their municipal government back. The province took over the town's affairs in 2019, and since then, Leanna Anderson says Leaf Rapids has fallen into decay. We'll hear more. And 6 weeks after a windstorm clogged rural drains with tons of dirt and debris, the Reeve of Montcalm says they are far from dug out. Paul Gilmore says only a quarter of the work is done and more rain is slowing things down and flooding farms. He wants disaster financial assistance. I'll be back with more Manitoba news at 7:30.
All right. Thank you, Heather.
Thanks.
In addition, in the next hour of Information Radio, massage therapy is now a regulated health profession in Manitoba. What does it mean for massage therapists and for you? We'll find out. Right now, the World Report is coming up next, the latest in national and international news, and what appears to be some devastating earthquakes happened in Venezuela, if you're just waking this morning and haven't heard yet. So we're going to hear more about what is happening there with rescue efforts. Stay with us. It's 2 minutes to 7 o'clock.
A lot of cool things, meet some awesome people, and I feel like the team just bonded.
It was a delicious trip to France. A group of teens from Manitoba won an international cooking competition with the help of Quebec celebrity chef Ricardo. We'll hear from all of them about the win and the joy of learning to cook. That's coming up on The Current.
The Current with Matt Galloway. This morning at 8:37, 9:07 in Newfoundland, and on the CBC Listen app.
This is World Report. Good morning. I'm Marcia Young. A building collapses in Caracas, Venezuela. The city was rocked by its most powerful earthquakes in over a century. At least 164 people are dead and nearly 1,000 others injured. The back-to-back quakes were 7.2 and 7.5 magnitudes yesterday evening. Emergency teams are rushing to the coastal disaster zone. Dozens of buildings are pancaked. Joining us now from Bogota, Colombia, is reporter Cody Weddle. Cody, what are you learning about the scale of these rescue operations right now?
Well, I know that is the main focus right now for these crews in Venezuela. We know that dozens of buildings have collapsed both in the capital of Caracas and on the coast, the town and state of La Guaira, which is on the coast. Acting President Delcy Rodriguez has said that is the most affected area. We have seen videos emerging on social media of crews attempting to locate these folks. We have seen them communicating with some people who are trapped inside. We have seen some people being removed from that rubble alive. So we do believe there are a large number of people buried under these buildings that have collapsed. So that clearly is the main focus right now for the authorities in Venezuela.
How is the current Venezuelan administration navigating this humanitarian response and cooperating with international partners like Washington during what is a really complex domestic political transition?
Right. Venezuela has been through nearly a decade of both political and economic crises. So I think there's no doubt that has affected all areas of society, including undoubtedly disaster response. We already know Delcy Rodriguez plans to accept a loan of $200 million from the IMF to begin rebuilding infrastructure that are affecting roads and transport options. We also know that the main international airport in Caracas, the Simón Bolívar International Airport, has been affected. And so countries and governments around the world are offering support. The challenge here will be getting those resources into the country as quickly as possible, because again, we know there are many people trapped under rubble at this point.
Thank you so much, Cody.
Thank you.
Freelance reporter Cody Weddle in Bogota, Colombia. Washington is deploying humanitarian relief following the quakes in Venezuela. Acting Venezuelan President Delcy Rodriguez has already spoken by phone with officials. The first transport planes are preparing to leave. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio details the initial phase of the U.S. operation.
We're already deploying search and rescue teams from Fairfax County, Virginia, and Los Angeles. There'll be some others we'll add. That's their most immediate need right now is search and rescue efforts. They have a much of collapsed buildings, and so they'll need a lot of help in terms of digging through that.
Washington is also rushing medical supplies and heavy machinery directly into the hardest hit areas. 1 in 10 patients is spending more than 14 hours in emergency rooms, And a new report from the Canadian Institute for Health Information says it is the worst for those needing a hospital bed. Jennifer LaGrassa reports.
I mean, I don't feel like I can rely on it.
Maureen Armstrong's elderly mom is currently in a Windsor, Ontario emergency room. She's been there for more than 48 hours. The wait, something they've come to expect.
Only getting worse, so.
And that's the case across the country.
The length of time they're spending in the emergency department has increased.
Cheryl Chewy is the director of Health System Analytics at the Canadian Institute for Health Information. Her latest report finds that of 1.8 million Canadians who went to the ER and needed to be admitted between 2024 and 2025, 1 in 10 spent 48 hours in the emergency department. That's worse compared to 2018 to 2019, when 1 in 10 Canadians spent 36 hours.
It makes it more likely that you would die.
Michael Herman is an emergency room doctor in Ottawa. He points to research that finds patients who have to stay overnight don't receive optimal care.
Emergency departments are designed for brief episodic care.
This bottleneck at the ER is a system-wide issue, compounded by short staffing and more patients with complex conditions. Experts say solutions start before patients arrive at the ER, including adding more family doctors in the community and freeing up spaces in long-term care homes.
I saw her this morning and she was almost to tears.
But for people like Armstrong and her 81-year-old mom, those changes can't come fast enough. Jennifer LaGrassa, CBC News, Windsor, Ontario.
A U.S.-based company is questioning Ottawa's decision to go with a Swedish aircraft over an American one. Prime Minister Mark Carney has started contract talks with Saab's GlobalEye. But a rival bidder from the U.S. argues that its product would create thousands of Canadian jobs. The CBC's Murray Brewster has more.
We were quite surprised.
Rich Foster, Vice President of L3Harris Canada, on the Carney government's recent decision to suspend regular procurement rules and negotiate directly with Swedish aircraft maker Saab to buy that company's early warning plane, the GlobalEye.
We had been anticipating that an RFI was coming out and that a competition would ensue that would uncover all of the facts necessary for Canada to make an informed decision.
L3Harris, an American company, was prepared to pitch its surveillance plane, the Ares X, when the government abruptly announced at the end of May it was going to negotiate a contract with Saab. Foster says his company respects the decision and is ready should talks fail. What's significant here is, unlike the submarine bids, which are about to be unveiled, Ottawa did not ask rival aircraft makers what kind of surveillance planes they could provide. It's called a request for information. Ottawa simply chose the GlobalEye. Defense expert Wendy Gilmore says the government promised to speed up procurement.
In a perfect world, would you go out to industry and compete everything? Sure, but then you are accepting significant risk in schedule and possibly also in cost.
Legislation to give the government more latitude to ignore the rules and speed up defense procurement is still before the House of Commons. It's not expected to pass until the fall. Murray Brewster, CBC News, Ottawa.
It's going to be another sweltering day across parts of Western Europe. France has been hit by the hardest in this extreme heat wave. Temperatures in some areas have surpassed 45 degrees Celsius so far. More than 40 deaths have been attributed to the heat in that country. And the mayor of Paris says the numbers are expected to rise.
Oui, il y en a. Évidemment, la mortalité est en hausse, mais c'est pas à moi de communiquer là-dessus.
Emmanuel Gregoire is now warning people that by 11:30 a.m. local time, some parts of France will register about 37 degrees Celsius. Tens of thousands of people are still without power. The UK and Spain are also experiencing record-breaking heat. The heat wave has forced schools to close, with major cities under rare heat alerts. It's graduation week for many grade 12 students across Canada. Deanna Sumanak-Johnson explains that as some of them head to university in the fall, there is concern about whether sky-high grades were justly earned.
I feel like the teachers kind of feel a little bit of guilt.
As she heads to university in the fall, Guelph, Ontario High School grad Mabel Winter worries that, like many of her peers, she benefited from the practice of so-called grade inflation.
In my favorite class, actually, I finished with a 96, and I'm kind of like, did I actually deserve that because everybody else in the class also has a similar grade.
Louis Volante, a professor in the Department of Education at Brock University, says the practice of awarding students 90% plus marks in the final year of high school really sped up during the pandemic, when school boards decided to mark more leniently or omit exams, all in an attempt to compensate for the overall disruptions to student learning.
Some programs in universities now have as many as 30, 40, even 50% of their incoming class has a 95% average or higher.
Volante says the practice harms students in the long run.
And then they're in university first year, and they go from a 95% to a 60% or even lower than that. So it's a psychological shock.
For their part, some Canadian institutions have started applying different criteria, like entrance interviews and evaluations of the student's whole profile, to get a better sense of the person behind the near-perfect average. Deanna Sumanek-Johnson, CBC News, Toronto.
That is the latest national and international news from World Report News Anytime, cbcnews.ca. I'm Marcia Young.
Well, good morning, everyone. A pretty clear sky over Winnipeg this morning. Welcome to your Thursday show, June 25th. I'm Marcy Marcusa. You're on CBC 89.3 FM, 990 AM on that app and on YouTube. Well, this week we've been speaking to notable grads here in Manitoba, and today we're going to take you up to Garden Hill, Anishinaabe Nation. We're going to hear from the valedictorian at the high school there. Grad was just yesterday. Super exciting time, so stay tuned. We'll hear about their future. Also this hour on the show, True North Square is going to see its first Winnipeg night market this weekend. Foods and performances from all around the world. And FIFA watch parties every day. So we're going to talk to the event organizer if you're looking for something to do to get out and about. And massage therapy is now a registered and regulated health profession in Manitoba. What does that actually mean for the therapists themselves, and what could it mean for you? We'll get some answers when we talk to the association that represents massage therapists. That's coming up just before 8 o'clock. Right now, Heather Wells with headlines.
An independent Winnipeg grocer is not convinced a downtown grocery store can survive in this city. Red River Co-op will open a full-service food store and pharmacy as part of the Portage Place redevelopment. Food Fair owner Munther Zeed says every downtown retailer has a major shoplifting issue, and he believes a grocery store would face the same challenges. A Winnipeg elementary school is getting a new name to sever its connection with a problematic figure in Canadian history. For more than 50 years, Dalhousie School in Fort Richmond has borne the name of the 9th Earl of Dalhousie. He was known to support slavery and policies that marginalized Black people. The school will now be known as Anibiman School. It's an Anishinaabe word for summer berries. We'll hear more in our next local news coming up at 7:30.
All right, thanks, Heather Wells. Thanks. Abby, what do you know about the weather?
Yeah, we're set for a warm day ahead. Plenty of sunshine, just a slim chance of showers. Scattered afternoon thunderstorms across both the northern and the southern regions. Here in Winnipeg, we're looking at temperatures just trying to hug 16 degrees. Sunny skies out there. We're looking at a humid high of 24 later today with some breezy conditions. And that's what we'll see in the Pembina Valley all the way to the Interlake regions today. Close to 25 degrees. While up north, we're seeing a mix of sun and clouds. Temperatures near 15 degrees in some areas. And we'll see highs close to 26. But Winnipeg, it is 16 at the Forks right now. We're expecting plenty of sunshine to start the day. And we get to 24 later.
All right. Thanks, Abby.
Thank you.
I think the commute is pretty quiet, Sierra.
Yeah, it's been pretty quiet this morning. So to me, it sounds like things are moving pretty smoothly on your Thursday commute. But I just want to remind folks, before I forget, that the Bombers are actually back in action tonight after their bye week last week. They are taking on the Edmonton Elks today at Princess Auto Stadium tonight at 7:30. So kickoff's around 7:30. So if you're in the South End area there, you want to expect traffic to be a little bit backed up there. There's also some construction projects going on there on that Pembina overpass, the northbound Pembina overpass, and southbound actually on the on and off ramps there to get onto Abenoji-Mikana there. So if you're in the area around that time, around kickoff time, be aware the Bomber fans, the Blue, will be out there getting ready to support the Bombers, especially after a week away as they look forward to hopefully a win. Hopefully a win. I know their last game they played, they lost. I think it was a little bit of a punch in the gut a little bit. So I think exactly. So I think they're hoping to get back on the horse here. So keep that in mind. But if there's a situation that's popping up on your commute this morning still, I'd love to hear about it. Whether you are here in Winnipeg or anywhere else in the province, give me a call. That number is 204-788-3093.
Well, up first this half hour, don't let expectations hold you back. That is the message from a student in Garden Hill, New Nation. Joshua Joy McPherson just received his diploma yesterday. He was valedictorian at the school as well, and he's up early via Zoom from Garden Hill to talk to us. Congratulations. Hi.
Thank you. Hi, good morning.
How are you feeling?
I wasn't expecting to get up early this morning, but I feel really good. I think getting my diploma yesterday was something that I was really looking forward to this entire year as I transitioned from a high school student to a university student starting in September.
Where are you going to be going in September, Joshua?
Toronto Metropolitan.
Oh, you've already got the sweatshirt on. I love that. You're holding it up on Zoom here, TMU. Do you know what you're going to be studying?
Yeah, actually, I will be going for a Bachelor of Arts in Honor Psychology.
Okay, Bachelor of Arts in Honor Psychology. How are you feeling about leaving Manitoba and leaving community? Garden Hill's a pretty tight-knit, smaller community.
I think leaving my community is something that'll give me the chance to actually spread my and see the world a little bit more for what it has to offer. And the thing with influence is I do worry about being alone, but I've been in Toronto multiple times to have built a family and some friends over there. So I'm not going.
Okay. We are having some technical problems, Joshua. So here's how we're going to solve them. I've loved seeing you in your TMU sweatshirt, but the visual sometimes can slow down the feed. I wonder if you can put yourself sort of to hide the visual. If that's an easy thing to do, then we'll still be able to hear each other.
Yep, sure. That's good.
Okay. We'll see if this works, and otherwise we'll call you back. But we've still got you here, and we've got these gorgeous pictures as well of your grad yesterday. What are some of the things that you said in your speech as a valedictorian?
Things I said in my speech were how expectations create this stigma in our youth that we need to fit into one box, appointed to us by society. And I encouraged our youth to not let those expectations define who they are and realize that they have a choice. Growing up, I've been told so many times that oh, you should do this, yada, yada, yada. And I was just no one ever really asked me what I wanted to do. And that expectation led me into this little bit of career uncertainty to the point where I honestly was dreading university. But I think those expectations can be good if you change your mindset. For me personally, I took those, oh, you should do this, as a sign that they believed in me. Not as, oh, they expect me to do this, but instead, they believe in me to do this, so I should be able to do this for myself.
I love that message. I know that you and I met briefly in Garden Hill when CBC was in the community, and some of the things that you were fighting for at that time, I think you're in grade 10, you were a passionate student counselor, you were advocating because the school had some water and mold issues, your lunchroom was closed, and you were worried about COVID, said, there was absentee concerns, kids weren't back in class, and you were talking about justice really for students who deserve to learn. What do you hope improves for students who follow, in your footsteps in terms of their schooling experience in Garden Hill and in Manitoba?
I think one thing I want the students in Garden Hill to know is that, though we go to school on reserve, there is still so much more to look forward to outside of it as well. And that doesn't mean leave forever. That doesn't mean forget where you come from. That just means broaden your horizons. Go see what there is to do out there. And if you want to come back home, come back home educated, be able to work for the community that has raised you.
Why do you think you were chosen to be valedictorian?
I was chosen to be valedictorian by the school administration, not only for being the student with the highest marks, but also because I think many people in my school know me as someone who is able to be there for the youth and be a voice for the youth. I think but being valedictorian and being selected as valedictorian was something that came naturally for the school administration, as I have demonstrated so many times that I am able to be there for our students and I'm able to give our community a voice.
What advice do you have specifically for other Indigenous students as they consider their future?
Something our keynote speaker said, I can't remember exactly what she said, but I'll paraphrase. Don't let your identity hold you back. Use that as a source of strength as you head into your next chapter of life.
Why did that resonate with you?
I think it's something I spoke about in my speech as well. Indigenous peoples have been so oppressed for many years that at times it seems like because of our identity, we can't go anywhere. But with how much support there is for Indigenous peoples, especially moving from up north to down south, there's so much we can do nowadays. It's just we don't usually know that it's available to us. I had no idea that Indigenous services at TMU would be able to help me financially. I didn't know any of that. And I didn't know that I would receive more funding from the federal government and organizations down south in Winnipeg, actually, just for going to school as an Indigenous student. There are so many supports out there specifically for Indigenous students that you need to take advantage of, because it's very shocking living somewhere so isolated, then coming down south to somewhere that is so metropolitan.
Mm-hmm.
And that can cause a little bit of shock. And I know for me personally, walking down the streets of Toronto this past year was insane to me. I never thought I'd be able to do it. But at the same time, it's if those resources are given to us, why not take advantage of them,
I read something else that you mentioned in your I think in your speech or in your remarks when you were thinking about grad. You said that you feel like people expect us, and that is Indigenous students specifically, to not want to be educated.
Yes, definitely. I feel like there's a strong stigma about Indigenous peoples where we're rubbies, basically, and that people don't want to be educated. But me and my 29 grads say otherwise. We have mature students and day students, but all of those combined came up to 29. And that shows that we want to be educated. We want to learn. We want to get our diploma. We want to work. We want to do all these amazing things that people don't expect us to do just because we're Indigenous and because of our past. And I can see the youth rising this generation to defy those expectations, defy those stereotypes, to do great things for the country of Canada.
One of the other things that you're going to be doing is dancing. We're going to end with this because I pulled some music. We got some music. We have Noah Kahan ready. We're going to play a little bit of this. This is tied to Toronto and why you know some people there. You do some hip hop, I understand. The Outside Looking In program had a huge impact in your high school journey. So tell me a little bit about what kind of dance you showcased at this. When you were. It's not a competition, but it's sort of like it's a showcase. So tell me a bit about your love of dance.
Oh my God. I started dancing in 2022, following in the footsteps of my brothers after they joined the program years ago when it first came to Garden Hill. And I never understood why they did it. But then I tried it for the first time in both grade 7 and 8. And I was like, oh my God, I understand now. Going from my small community to Toronto, seeing the people there and letting them see the power that Indigenous peoples hold was so empowering in me that I continue to pursue the program. And it was in that program where I met so many great youth from across the country that I still keep in contact with today. And from those connections, I built lifelong professional relationships, platonic relationships. Oh my gosh, those people I talk to now, they're a big source of my strength, as I know in Toronto, I'll be able to see them again.
Fabulous.
And oh my goodness. And for the song right here, we did learn a new style of dance this year, contemporary. And I think the song Northern Attitude really encompasses what it feels like to be Indigenous and to put yourself out there into the world, right?
Well, we're going to have to listen to these lyrics from Noah Kahn. Good luck in Toronto, Joshua. Congratulations on your grad. Get some sleep today.
Yep. Thank you so much. I'm so tired.
Joshua Joy McPherson live on CBC via Zoom. The valedictorian in Garden Hill graduated yesterday.
Bought some shit, search online, you're getting lost, you're getting high, all alone, late in life, scared to live, scared to die. You build a boat, you build a life, you lose your kids, you lose your wife, you settle down, you're feeling lost, you're getting stoned and kicking rocks.
So good. Noah Kahn, Northern Attitude. Check it out and listen to each and every lyric when you get the chance. Right now, we got to move to talking about soccer. We are going to touch base with Paul McGowan about the game yesterday. But I heard you want to start actually with the Bombers. And that is good because they're at home tonight hosting the Elks. Hi, Paul.
Hi, Marcy. Yeah, it's been an interesting week for Winnipeg, reacquiring Drew Brown from Ottawa after Brown, left to be the Red Blacks starting QB, then lost that job this year, and then asked out of Ottawa. And it was a steep price to pay, too, for a guy who, at least for the time being, is going to back up Zach Collaros. But Mike O'Shea yesterday said that the Bombers believe in the upside of Brown and in the fact that he's comfortable in Winnipeg.
He wasn't going to be on the roster this game. I don't know where he gets placed, honestly. In transit, I think it's called. It's a long way to hitchhike. It's pretty far. We made our team better. We added a young football junkie who loves the game, been in this building before, so we know him very well. Been in Tommy's system before, so he knows that very well. You had that kind of experience. It's positive.
So not on the roster tonight is Drew Brown. Kickoff between the Elks and Bombers is at 7:30.
All right, and now to soccer. It's funny, I walked in this morning and I said I thought Canada played pretty well, and then I had colleagues saying I don't know, and ultimately, though, they did lose yesterday in Vancouver.
Yeah, a close game against the Swiss. And Canada, though, still finishes second in their group. And so for the first time at a men's World Cup, the Canadians get past the group stage. And there was, as you say, Marcia, disappointment yesterday, frustration at what could have been that potential home game in the knockout round in Vancouver. But Canadian defender Alistair Johnston says that we all need to take a deep breath.
We're into the knockout stage of a World Cup, and I'm not really sure. It's been kind of a strange vibe already from some of the questions I've got. Yeah, of course, we'd have loved to top the group, but we're into the knockout stage. This is the bare minimum of what we wanted, and that goes to show where we're at as a program. We're doing knockouts. Anything can happen. Hopefully, as much of that crowd as possible will travel down with us and be able to play off their energy and see what we can do. But no, we're in a great place.
That knockout stage game goes on Sunday in Los Angeles, and a bit of a surprise opponent when that game ended yesterday. Everyone thought it would be Korea on Sunday. Instead, South Africa earns an upset victory over South Korea, so it's South Africa and Canada on Sunday, and South Africa right now ranked 54th in the world, Canada sitting at 31st, so potentially a bit of a better matchup for Canada.
Let's stay with World Cup before you go. We're about to see the consequences of a new World Cup rule.
Yeah, that rule, in essence, Marcy, is that players can't cover their mouths with their hand or their jersey while they are trash-talking other players, which used to happen because if you can't see somebody's mouth, you can't read lips, and you can't prove that somebody said something awful. But in a game earlier this year, Brazilian star Vinicius Jr. accused Gianluca Prestiani of saying something racist. Prestiani came back and said, you heard me incorrectly. I didn't say something racist. What I actually said was something homophobic, which A, is why you should never defend yourself in court, and B, led to this rule that covering your mouth can get you a red card. Now, Paraguay's Miguel Almiron is the first recipient of one of these red cards. He will sit out today against Australia, and Aussie midfielder Jackson Irvine was asked whether he's okay with that advantage.
It's going to be controversial in some ways because we don't know the nature of what it was, but when you look at what's happened in the past, especially, around what happened, the incident with Vinicius Jr., I think it takes everything out of the equation. If you're saying something to someone that you don't want to be seen, then I think it's safe to say that it shouldn't be said. So listen, for me, it's a clear line on the rule, and we were all told about it, so it is what it is.
Australia and Paraguay play tonight in San Francisco.
All right, Paul, thank you.
Thanks, Marcy.
Paul McGowan with Morning Sports. Your news from Manitoba at CBC is next.
This is CBC News. Good morning. I'm Heather Wells in Winnipeg. At 7:30, it's 16 degrees. We've got sunshine. That sun's going to stay with us through the bulk of the morning into the afternoon, and then some clouds move in, bringing with them a slight chance of showers, maybe even a thunderstorm, and a near normal high today of 24. An independent Winnipeg grocer is not convinced a grocery store can survive in this city's downtown. Red River Co-op plans to open a full-service food store and pharmacy as part of the Portage Place redevelopment. Food Fair owner Munther Zeed warns of crime in the area.
Any store that's downtown right now has a major shoplifting issue. Major. You look at the guys downtown, you look at Dollarama on Portage Avenue, Giant Tiger on Ellis there, they have a major issue happening there. Major. I'm amazed they're still in business. And you want to put a grocery store downtown?
Zeed believes the only way a grocery store can survive is if government pays for police officers to patrol the store and a parking lot. Red River Co-op plans to open the new downtown Winnipeg store in 2029. A northern Manitoba town is at risk of losing its main grocery store and gas station. The co-op in Leaf Rapids owes its parent company more than $1.8 million. With declining sales, the store's acting manager says it's likely the business will be out of commission, and that is concerning to Leaf Rapids resident Irvin Biggity. Biggity says losing the store would make life even harder in a town already dealing with other pressing issues.
A lot of problems that are not being addressed, mental health, addictions, housing. And, these accumulative problems make these people act out in a way where they're heard. And this is it's like nobody's helping them. So they're doing what they can to cope with life that's at home.
Biggity says Leaf Rapids needs to elect a new municipal government to help address its problems. The town has been administered by the province since its council was dissolved in 2019. Well, heavy equipment is still slowly scooping muck out of ditches in southern Manitoba. Dust and debris from a windstorm back in May is still clogging drains and ditches in several municipalities. RM of Montcalm Reeve, Paul Gilmore, says the work will last well into the fall without provincial help.
Only approximately 25% of the work that needs to be done to restore all our drains and culverts to previous condition has been completed. So we got a long ways to go.
The RM is still in a state of local emergency and is asking for $2 million in disaster financial assistance. The rain complicates the work, turning that dirt in the drains into mud. Neighboring RMs, Emerson, Franklin, Rhineland, and Morris, are also in states of emergency and asking for provincial help. Venezuela is reeling after being hit by two powerful earthquakes just seconds apart. Crews in Caracas working through the night rescuing people trapped under rubble of collapsed buildings. There are more than 160 confirmed deaths, but officials warn that number is likely to climb into the hundreds or thousands. Close to 1,000 others are injured. The 7.2 and 7.5 magnitude quakes hit last evening just west of the capital. Soon after, acting President Delcy Rodriguez made a televised address to the nation.
This is an event with serious consequences that has particularly affected several states. We are now declaring a state of emergency as provided for in our Constitution. In national unity, we will overcome this situation.
Offers of aid are coming from countries across South and Central America. The U.S. also says it's ordered disaster assistance supplies. You can hear the latest on the situation in Venezuela coming up on World Report at 8. A Winnipeg elementary school is changing its name to sever its connection with a problematic figure in Canadian history. For more than 50 years, Dalhousie School in Fort Richmond has borne the name of the 9th Earl of Dalhousie. He served as Lieutenant Governor of Nova Scotia in the early 19th century and was founder of Dalhousie University in Halifax. He was also known to support slavery and policies that marginalized Black people. Evie Klostermeyer is the school's acting principal.
The research showed that Dalhousie was a contributor to slavery and not appropriate actions towards diverse cultural groups. And so we felt it had no value for what this community represents.
The school will now be known as Ani Bimanan School. It's an Anishinaabe-Woan word meaning summer berries. The name was chosen from 55 submissions after consultations with Indigenous language and knowledge keepers. And an unconventional high school grad celebration. Students in Flin Flon getting hit with ice-cold water from a fire hose during Hapnock Collegiate's grad car parade. People spraying hoses, throwing water balloons. The tradition is one the grads look forward to, including Jave McKay.
It is amazing. I've been waiting for this for so long, and I wish I could do it again, so I'm just going to take the time to enjoy as much as I can. Well, I'm going to spray the whole town, and I'm going to throw these water balloons at everyone. Nobody's staying dry today.
But they will be staying dry on Friday. That's when Flin Flon School is going to host a more formal graduation ceremony. You can find the latest news updated throughout the day at cbc.ca/Manitoba.
Heather, you need to come in the studio. Can you hear me mixing my drink? There's pineapple and other fruit drinks. There's lumpia. There's jollof rice.
Wow.
I know. This doesn't happen ever.
What's going on? Are you guys having a party?
We are kind of. So is Winnipeg. We're going to be talking about the Winnipeg Night Market, True North Square. It's a first-time thing, and there's all kinds of food involved. So my next guest showed up with all kinds of food.
Love that.
Yeah. So you can either interview for me while I eat, or you can come in and eat while I continue with the show. But
I think I'll do the last one.
Exactly. All right, we're going to get into that interview and some of this beautiful food in a moment. We're so lucky to live in such a culturally diverse place with all this food. Abby is here first to tell us about the forecast today. Abby?
Yeah, Marcy, we are in for the summer warm day today. Just a slim chance of scattered showers in the afternoon, both in the northern and the southern parts of the province. Here in Winnipeg, calls for sunny morning with periodic clouds in and out. We're expecting a warm, humid day. Just a slim chance of showers and a risk of thunderstorms late into the afternoon period. We're looking at temperatures still trying to hug 16 degrees this morning as we head to a high of 24 today with some windy conditions. And across the southern regions, in the Pembina Valley region, we're looking at 15 degrees there, also aiming for 25 in the Westman region, Brandon towards Nipawin, sunshine 11, heading to a high of 23. In the Parkland region, similar conditions, 13, you warm to 25, while for Gimli and surrounding areas, we're looking at temperatures around 13, sunny conditions there, warming to a high of 20, warming to a high of 24 today. The Par, Flin Flon, we're saying 12 degrees, still foggy conditions around the Par. You see a high of 26 today. Norway House is currently cloudy at 16, aiming for a high of 26 with a good chance of showers, while for Thompson, Lynn Lake, Gillam, Tudula Lake, all grouped into similar conditions. We're seeing temperatures between 13 and 16 degrees. Partly cloudy skies there, reaching a high close to 26 degrees and a slim chance of afternoon showers. For the Churchill region, enjoying some sunshine at this time, 5 degrees, you get to 15 latest. So it's more about this warm, humid summer day, widespread sunshine to start, and then we might see some sprinkles later in the afternoon. But for Winnipeg, we are at 15 right now.
Now, Abby does the show across the glass from me in the control room. I'm in the studio. You see that jollof rice being opened? Ooh.
Is that fish or turkey or chicken I see there?
Yeah, it's a big old drumstick.
Oh.
Yeah.
I know. That's my pastime at home.
I know, that's your thing. It's your jam. You'll have to compare to your recipe in a minute. Also, someone grab a fork or a spoon because we forgot that before we get into this.
Ooh, okay.
If that's okay, please. And then pop on in and bring it into the studio and you can grab some food. We need to tell you about traffic. It's going well so far. It's been very quiet. And so I mean it actually. I do need a fork or a spoon if that's okay. Thanks, man. It has been very quiet. If you want to call Sierra, though, if there's any kind of a problem, you can give us a call at 788-3093. All right, let's get into talking about the people behind the food because that's the real point. As I mentioned, the Winnipeg night market's lighting up True North Square for the first time this weekend. There's going to be all kinds of festivities celebrating Canadian Multiculturalism Day. So there's food, from many nations. They're also doing FIFA watch parties, so that'll be super fun, especially because Canada's playing now South Africa on Sunday. This is all put on by Food Trip Winnipeg. So they have been hosting foodie experiences since 2017. Thanks, Sierra. The fork has arrived for our interview. Lourdes Fedras is the founder and organizer of Food Trip Winnipeg. Hi, Lourdes.
Mercy, thank you so much for having us.
Yeah, thanks for being here. And congrats on Food Trip. I mean, it's been around for now, it's almost 10 years already.
It is. Next year, we're going to be in 10 years making our city more delicious.
Have you seen the food offerings grow as our multiculturalism in the city has grown?
Oh, definitely. Especially when we created a platform. We mostly welcome immigrants like that are usually have a very difficulty in finding a platform to showcase their food. Although we know that there's a lot of people, there's a demand for it, a lot of people who craves for it, not just, in their community, but outside their community, because we really are very diverse city. So yeah, as we every year and year, we grew in our vendors and the people that attend to our events. So yeah, it's amazing.
How many vendors do you have at this year's Food Trip?
For this one, because it's a small space,
the night market,
for the food, we have 25.
Yep.
Yeah, and 25 for another 25 or more for non-food.
Got it. And what we're going to talk about entertainment in a moment, but we actually have another guest to introduce everybody to first. So let's say hello to Ifeliua Bimibe, who's also in studio with us. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm well. So tell me how you get hooked into this event. You brought food today.
Yeah. So I'm actually we're Odisam's Menu. We're a vendor that has actually participated in Food Trip. I think we started last year, and it's been such a wonderful community to join. We've had different exposure to different food, diversity, like she said. The last one I remember, Taste of Asia, it was Taste of Asia, but we were there and we were Africans, and it's like, come on, why not? It's food we're talking about. Everyone's going to eat something. And, it was just a nice collaboration, and it's always nice anytime we go to these Food Trip events, because even between the vendors, there's this... we do exchanges and everything. We get a taste of everybody's food, and it's just really wonderful.
It's the common language of humanity, right?
Yes.
Food.
Exactly.
Look how we're all smiling here. Everyone's smiling, talking about the food. What does it mean, though, for both of you? You said, this all started by to give different cultural communities, in a way, a place to connect and a place to showcase food. Mm-hmm. How much does that mean to the communities?
I think I can only speak on behalf of myself. Of course, I miss home. We all miss home. And this is our new home. So blending those two together is very important to us. So having that connection still from our past, and at the same time, enjoying the present. So, and it does connect to what I think for those who are past and present for your future. So for our kids, so they can still learn about our culture, when they grow up. And that's the easy way to transfer that, or to educate our children, is through food. And not just our kids, and even other people's kids. And that's how we can really celebrate diversity and accept one another and just celebrate that.
Yeah, my mom still, when she talks about Ukrainian food today, calls it our food. You know what I mean? Just because she would have grown up, my grandfather, right, from Ukraine. So your background is Filipino.
Yes.
Yeah, and your food is coming from where?
Nigeria.
From Nigeria. Thus the jollof rice. Ifeoluwa, I'm just going to ask you the same question. How important is it to connect culturally through food, that our communities have these showcases to, as you said, meet each other and share?
So honestly, it's very important because we found this as an avenue to actually educate people about our food. So many times we have questions like, oh, what's it made of? What's in it? And people kind of second guessing. They don't want to try it at first. But then once they try it, they get a taste of it. And it's like, oh, this is actually really good. And then we've seen cases where people can compare it with what it is that they've had before. Like say, oh, it kind of tastes like, but then, yes, it tastes like, but then they know where the food is coming from. We can tell the story through our food. For example, jollof rice is very common in Nigeria. Like every party must have jollof rice. Every gathering must have jollof rice. So, and then it's just different. There's jollof rice you cook at home, and then there's jollof rice you cook at a party. Different flavors, different flavor profile for both jollof rice, and it's still jollof rice. And then when it comes to suya as well, that's the ultimate street food that we have in Nigeria. So being able to showcase all of this and even educate people about it and exposing people more to Nigerian food, that's also like really important, just like you said. So
yeah, how's it going with finding all the spices in Winnipeg? Because I know that I'm not just joking around here. Abby and I do talk about this a lot, and sometimes it's hard to find the types of things you want to cook with for your dishes. Yeah. And I think it's getting a bit better.
Yes, I mean, we do have African stores around the city where we are able to get these items. Some we have to source locally, definitely, because, we don't have everything here. But the African stores that we have been a really good support to being able to get all the ingredients and making up a very nice dish.
Okay, these are beautiful. So I'm going to hold them up to the camera. Travis, I'm going to hold them up to this camera. Well, we'll see. We'll see how this goes. I don't want to tip anything. So right now I'm showing, let me see that. We cut to that camera. This is the jollof rice. And what is the drumstick on top of here?
Chicken.
It's chicken. Okay, yes. Great. This is not the camera, Travis, then? Do you want me to be showing it here? Sorry, I'm not seeing it. So this is for our YouTube audience. So there it is. Perfect. So beautiful. Is it spilling? Oh, that's okay. It's live radio. And I just dumped the chicken drumstick all over the controls. I don't smell good in the studio all day. Okay, there. Well, we saw it, and then we dumped it over. Not all of it. Okay, so that's that dish. So it's jollof rice, obviously a Nigerian dish, and then chicken drumstick prepared, as you said, for all kinds of festivities. What is this dish?
Suya. So so it's beef mixed in peanut spice. We call it yaji spice. Yep. It's the ultimate Nigerian street food. It's really nice too. It's beef. You can have it on a stick, and then you can have it like that with vegetables, tomatoes, onions, and other spices.
Are you serving? Are these things available Sunday then? Are they off through the night market?
They are. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Putting these aside. Someone once told me don't eat on the radios, so I'll be trying things a little bit later. I might have a bite or two though. What is this drink? I can have a sip of this. This is a colorful pineapple drink here, Lourdes?
It's a pineapple lemon.
With gummies.
Yes. We always love the fun stuff at the bottom. This is, I think it's watermelon.
Okay. I'm not going to sip this one because I'm going to pass it to someone else. Beautiful colors, so drinks available. There's often sort of lots of fruits in Filipino drinks.
Yeah, we're a tropical country, so fruits is very common. And so we can make all sorts of food with our fruits. So this is a popular pork spring roll, of course. And the other one is a fish. I think it's a seafood ball.
Okay, so we have lumpia, which is a pork string roll, right?
Yes.
Which is amazing, right? Those little crunchy, amazing, dip it in. And then this one is
it's a seafood ball. So it's like a
skewer on a skewer.
Yeah.
Oh, it smells so good. It smells like a party in here, frankly. Especially after I dumped it, the food. We will try some of these beautiful things later. Besides food, we got to get to this because it's a brand new event to have a Winnipeg night market. What's the entertainment and the big screen being set up? What's it going to be like?
Yes, that is very exciting because the city of Winnipeg sponsored another big screen. So we have already the giant screen at True North Square Plaza. So they will be showing the soccer tournament there too, live at 2. There's one on Friday at 2 p.m. and I think another one at 7. And then the Saturday there's a 4, and a 6:30. So just go to our page because I can't remember the matches.
Check out the schedule.
But so we have a big screen also at Graham Avenue. So 2 giant screen, because we don't want people we just want people to scatter everywhere, find their places. And it will be by City Place at Graham Avenue. So those are the 2 big screens that we'll have for those 2 days.
Super. What other kinds of foods and cultural dance and performances will there be? What other nations will be represented?
So since we're having Spain and Portugal, so of course we're gonna have a mariachi. We have a mariachi band, and we're gonna have to watch out for. We're gonna have a giant piñata.
Oh, fun!
It's a 12-foot piñata.
Okay.
It's not gonna be smashed. It's just an art installation, but it's 12 foot and it's very beautiful. It's like a Trojan horse, and it's going to be located at the True North Square, like the entrance by the Jet statue.
And you're inviting people to dress up as well. There's some kind of a contest, right?
Yeah, we'll have a best dressed fan. We're going to give away a gift certificate from Hargrave Market. So they're also joining us and supporting us in this very fun event. So just put on your most energetic, most colorful dress, whatever country you're cheering for, and you'll get a prize.
Thank you guys for coming in and for all this effort to bring food this early in the morning. We appreciate. It will be shared properly, I promise. and have fun this weekend.
Yes.
And good luck. Thank you very much for what you do in Winnipeg. Appreciate you both.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Nice to see you. Lourdes Fedras in studio with us, as well as Afelio Bamibe in studio as well. Lourdes is the founder and organizer of Food Trip Winnipeg. So they're having their first ever Winnipeg night market. And Afelio, of course, going to be there with some of the food and the Nigerian flavors. The market is starting tomorrow at 2 o'clock, True North Square. And it's going to kick off a series then of these new night markets that are going to run every weekend from now till July. So check it out. The weather looks tomorrow like it's going to be pretty good. So tomorrow might be, in fact, probably the best day. Cross your fingers for the rest of the weekend.
This Canada Day, let's celebrate on CBC with special coverage, highlights from events across the country, and wrapping up the day with a giant concert featuring performances by Bare Naked Ladies, Alessia Cara, Beatrice Deer and Sylvia Cloutier, Dominique Fils-Aimé, the Tragically Hip's Paul Langlois, and more, including fireworks lighting up the night sky over the capital. Celebrate your Canada, July 1st, everywhere you get CBC.
On the topics that matter, your voice should be heard.
It looks like this is maybe a one-day blip when farmers across the province need hot and dry.
Radio Noon is where you can voice your take.
In general, it's harder to find a job even if you're educated.
I'm Marjorie Dowhouse. From 12:15 to 1 p.m., Radio Noon opens the phone lines on one important topic.
When I was 5 or 6, my parents gave me seeds and helped me plant them. That was probably close to 70 years ago. And here I am still gardening.
It just brings everyone together. Radio Noon's call-in segment, 204-780-0893. We want to hear from you weekdays on CBC.
9 minutes now to 8 o'clock on 89.3. And next on the show, there has been a change to massage therapy. It's now formally designated as a regulated health profession in Manitoba. It's something our next guest says has been decades in the making. She also says it's going to take more waiting until new rules for regulations come into effect. Tricia Wiedenbacher is the Executive Director of the Massage Therapy Association of Manitoba and has been a registered massage therapist, or RMT, since 1998. Good morning. Just make sure that we can hear you here. I think there's a mute on. And can we hear you now? I think we're here still. I think we're still having some trouble.
There we go.
There we go. Yeah, we got you now. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
So,
Right.
Tell me more about how this is going to change the profession in Manitoba.
Well, what it does first and foremost is it gives protection for the public by creating a framework that promotes consistent standards, professional accountability, and transparent oversight. So it helps ensure that Manitobans can continue to have confidence in the massage therapy care that they receive.
What challenges have massage therapists and clients faced without, this regulation being in place?
Yeah, without regulation, there is there's no rules as to who can call themselves a massage therapist. So for the public, they have to do their due diligence to find out, is the person properly trained? Are they affiliated with an association? Do they have appropriate liability insurance? So it's kind of on them to make sure that the person that they're seeing is actually a qualified massage therapist. But with regulation, anyone calling themselves an RMT would be registered with a college. There would be a public registry, so the public could go to one single place, look up the person's name, and if they are registered there, they know that they are going to be seeing somebody who is properly trained, following a consistent standard of practice and scope of practice and code of ethics.
What was the catalyst for getting massage therapy regulated in Manitoba? As I mentioned, this goes back decades.
Yes, actually, our founding member, Peter Stachnik, back in 1973, when he founded our Massage Therapy Association in Manitoba, his original goal was to have the profession regulated. So way back decades ago, that was already a goal. And there was, of course, we were waiting for an appropriate time, an appropriate vehicle to get regulated. It wasn't just something that could happen automatically. And that avenue didn't really open up to us until the Regulated Health Professions Act came into play in the mid-2000s.
And there were also, I understand, along the way, some high-profile cases, very troubling cases that also may have been part of speeding up the process to have registration in place.
Yes, yeah, that's been an ongoing problem and it affects really any profession, but particularly in massage therapy, where you have a therapist in a room with a client for up to an hour at a time, or more than an hour at a time, and that client can be in a very vulnerable position. And yes, there's been some sexual assault cases. There's been some physical injuries. Other incidences more along the business side of things, maybe insurance fraud or billing irregularities, things like that, that have certainly contributed to the need for regulation to move forward as quickly as possible.
And where are we in the pack when you look at the rest of Canada in terms of, we're certainly not new to be registered, correct? Or not first to be registered, rather.
No, we are not. British Columbia and Ontario have been regulated for the longest. It seems like almost forever that they've had regulation in place. The next province that came in, I believe, was Newfoundland and Labrador, then PEI. Nova Scotia has not quite full regulation, but they've got title protection at least. And then we know that Saskatchewan is very close. And Alberta is maybe a little further behind Saskatchewan. So we've got right now half of the country has regulation in place for massage therapy, and then the rest of us are working toward it.
And what are the next steps in Manitoba? Like, what needs to be created and has to happen before this is official?
The next step that needs to happen is for the government of Manitoba to announce a transition council. So applications were taken in last year for people interested in being part of that transition council. So people from the profession, so RMTs, as well as they'll choose some members of the public to be on that council. And then it will be their job to create the governance structure, the eligibility requirements, all of the processes to be put in place so that we have a functioning regulatory college and we have those official rules and standards to follow.
Thank you very much for telling us about this, especially since you've been, one of the people that's been hoping for it for a long time. We appreciate you being with us.
Thank you.
That's Tricia Wiedenbacher with us live this morning, the Executive Director of the Massage Therapy Association of Manitoba, and has been a registered massage therapist, or RMT, since 1998. We did learn this week that massage therapists for the first time are going to be formally designated as a regulated health profession in our province. It's 3 minutes to 8 o'clock. Coming up on Information Radio on CBC after 8 o'clock. We hope you stay with us because tornadoes and baseball-sized hail and flash flooding have really been hammering Manitoba. Manitoba has seen it all this spring already. Coming up, we're going to hear about some simple and also some complex changes that could be made to buildings to protect them against severe weather events. So we're going to hear about some of the very latest from one of the climate experts that is in Winnipeg this week. In Winnipeg today, 16 partly cloudy. We do have a chance of more rain this afternoon. Risk of a thunderstorm, 30%, less of a chance than yesterday, but still there. A high of 24. Traffic's fine, 788-3093. If you do see a problem, please report it to us. We'll pass it along. Let's go to your news headlines at 2 minutes to 8.
Good morning. Well, 6 weeks after a windstorm clogged rural drains with tons of dirt and debris, the Reeve of Montcalm says they are far from dug out. Paul Gilmore says only a quarter of the work is done, and more rain not only slows things down, it also floods farms and turns all that dirt in the clogged drains into mud, making it even harder to clear. We're going to hear the latest on that. And how about summer berries? Sounds beautiful, and that is the name that is chosen for a Fort Richmond elementary school. Ani B. Minan is going to be the new name for the school that once was known as Dalhousie. Dalhousie in Fort Richmond has picked a new name to sever its connection with a problematic figure in history. We'll hear all about it in our next local news coming up at 8:30.
All right, Heather, thank you.
Thank you.
Well, I have to clean up a lot of rice all over the studio now. What a nice interview that was this half hour. Stay with us. Coming up, World Report is next on 89.3 FM. Into serious matters, if you are just waking up this morning, there have been earthquakes in Venezuela.
On cue. If you haven't heard of Diljit Dosanjh yet, you will. He's a Punjabi singer and actor who became the first Punjabi artist to play Coachella, to sell out Madison Square Garden. He'll be here to tell you his incredible origin story, and we'll break down why his outfit at the Met Gala made so much news around the world.
Q with Tom Power this morning at 10:30 in Newfoundland, and on CBC Listen or wherever you get your podcasts. The CBC News is next. Coming up in half an hour, it's The Current with Matt Galloway.
It was a delicious trip to France. A group of teens from Manitoba won an international cooking competition with the help of Quebec celebrity chef Ricardo. We'll hear from all of them about the win and the joy of learning to cook. That's coming up on The Current.
This is World Report. Good morning. I'm Marcia Young. People cheering at first responders in Venezuela as they carried an injured man out on a stretcher. Back-to-back earthquakes hit the country's capital, Caracas, last night. The quakes reached 7.2 and 7.5 magnitudes. They are among the worst to strike Venezuela in more than a century. At least 164 people are dead and nearly 1,000 are injured in Caracas alone. But officials say the full scale of the disaster is still unknown. Cody Weddle has our story.
Videos from Simón Bolívar International Airport near Caracas show dust pouring through cracks in the ceiling as the building rumbles.
Terremoto de alta magnitud.
The terminal floor is buried under chunks of concrete and fallen ceiling tiles. Other footage show high-rise apartment buildings completely collapsed.
A esta hora tenemos reportes.
Acting President Delcy Rodriguez says authorities are dealing with a mounting casualty count, with mass injuries reported across the capital region. Residents describe a terrifying ordeal. Alejandro Narvaez was on the 8th floor of his apartment building with his mother.
I tried to stay calm for her, but in fact I was really, really worried. We were sitting in the living room. I tried to hold her. I just repeat, calm, calm, calm.
Decenas de edificios colapsados.
Rodriguez says dozens of buildings have collapsed and crews are working through the night to rescue those trapped beneath the rubble. The coastal region was hit the hardest. Reporter Orle Francamaya visited a local police station where victims were seeking urgent help.
Lesiones en las rodillas, cortaduras.
He said he is seeing widespread injuries, including severe cuts, head wounds, and broken bones. Cody Weddle for CBC News, Bogota.
1 in 10 Canadian ER patients waits more than 14 hours for care. And a new report from the Canadian Institute for Health Information says it is the worst for people needing a hospital bed. Maureen Armstrong's 81-year-old mother spent more than 2 days stranded in a Windsor, Ontario emergency room this week.
Canada, that's supposed to be a healthcare country that's supposed to take care of their people, and we pay taxes in order to do that. And nobody really minds that too much because we know that we're going to get the care that we deserve, but it's not happening.
Healthcare analysts say the delays are a system-wide issue. They say critical nursing shortages and a severe lack of long-term care beds are to blame. Israel is accelerating evictions of Palestinian families in East Jerusalem. The Israeli NGO Ir Amim warns it could lead to the largest expulsion of Palestinians in the occupied territory since 1967. This year alone, 18 families have been evicted from their homes in the basin of the Old City, and several homes are being demolished. Crystal Gomansing has more from Jerusalem.
School groups and tourists look curiously at demonstrators in Silwan as they pass to enter the city of David, a site dedicated to King David and Jerusalem's ancient history. The history of Palestinians in the area is what demonstrators are trying to highlight and ultimately protect.
This house is not stones for me.
Abdel Halim Shaloudi's house backs onto the City of David National Park. It was claimed under Israel's absentee property law.
I never knew a house except this one.
His parents rented it in 1964. The owner died years ago. The state, he says, ordered him to pay 10 years worth of back rent or leave.
It's not the only one.
Ruud Miram is with the NGO Ir Mim, one of the rally organizers.
It's not for nothing that Silwan specifically is being targeted in such a way in all sorts of mechanisms to displace people and erase the cultural, historical narrative of this area.
Her group says 27 other families face evictions in the coming months after exhausting legal avenues. Human Rights Watch recently noted the actions in Silwan, restating a 2024 International Court of Justice advisory opinion that practices, including forcible evictions and extensive demolitions in East Jerusalem, were contrary to Article 49 of the Fourth Geneva Convention.
I will walk out of here. I won't crawl.
His eviction deadline was Thursday, but says his family now has until Sunday to leave. Crystal Gomansing, CBC News, Silwan in occupied East Jerusalem.
In Kenya, police move in on protests in Nairobi. The situation turns violent. Armed officers arrest demonstrators. Demonstrators are marking 2 years since anti-government protests stormed the country's parliament. More than 60 people died during the so-called Gen Z demonstrations. They were in response to government tax hikes that were eventually withdrawn. A former national chief of the Assembly of First Nations says he plans to sue the Canadian government. He's angry over Ottawa's past surveillance of Indigenous leaders. And he says the RCMP's acknowledgement of regret is not enough. The CBC's Brett Forrester has more on the so-called Native Extremism program.
There's nothing extreme about me.
Ovid McCurdy is an accomplished Cree leader and former two-term Assembly of First Nations national chief. But as he flips through a heavy stack of declassified intelligence papers, McCurdy feels compelled to set the record straight.
I don't appreciate being called an extreme native because I'm not a terrorist.
He's reacting to a CBC News investigation that found the RCMP's security service spied extensively on legitimate Indigenous organizations from 1968 to 1983. But CBC also found the Canadian Security Intelligence Service revived the so-called Native Extremism program and ran it through the 1990s. And McCurdy is equally outraged to see his name in a 1997 domestic counter-terrorism report from CSIS.
So this idea that we're terrorists, that our movement is an extreme movement that puts the country in danger, that's another stereotype.
McCurdy says an apology won't be enough. He intends to sue the federal government to get justice, answers, and change. Cree leader Saul Sanderson, who was spied on in Saskatchewan in the 1970s, agrees.
I'm looking for compensation for myself and my family. They damaged our history. They damaged our leadership. They damaged our livelihood.
In a statement, Public Safety Minister Gary Anandasangari's office says the government takes these matters seriously and will work with Indigenous leaders to ensure accountability. The RCMP expressed its regret in March and has declined further comment. CSIS has said it no longer engages in race-based intelligence investigations and is committed to mending relations. Brad Forster, CBC News, Ottawa.
Thousands of World Cup fans are calling for outside investigations into StubHub. CBC News broke the story about the resale site failing to deliver tickets to fans across North America. The CBC's Dave Seglins tells us some fans say politicians and regulators need to look into what they claim amounts to fraud.
There are many people out there affected by this situation with StubHub.
Jeff Ripley of Spokane, Washington says StubHub failed to deliver his family's tickets for a recent U.S. match in Seattle. Tickets he bought in December.
I think they're a con. Excuse me, but...
This week, he's filed complaints with the Washington State Attorney General and the U.S. Federal Trade Commission.
They didn't do due diligence to ensure that the person listing tickets actually had physical possession of the tickets.
This practice is called speculative ticketing. StubHub insists it doesn't allow it, but StubHub relies on an honor system, letting scalpers and resellers declare they actually possess the tickets that they advertise for resale. Brad Clemens is a lawyer in California who has 159 cases against StubHub. He says the company often drags things out and says in the past week he's been contacted by 50 new people, all fighting for World Cup refunds.
I think that they are the most predatory company in my 44 years of existence that I have ever seen. I mean, they are literally sitting on money that they know they have no right to, of both buyers and sellers.
StubHub insists it honors its money-back guarantee, but Clement warns that those who've been stiffed by StubHub may need to file formal paperwork within 30 days and may have to go to arbitration to get their money back. Dave Seglin, CBC News, Toronto.
And in case you missed it, Canada will face South Africa in a sudden death match at the World Cup this Sunday. The game kicks off in Los Angeles. That is the latest national and international news from World Report News Anytime, cbcnews.ca. I'm Marcia Young.
And welcome to Thursday, June 25th. Thanks for being with us this morning on CBC's Morning Show. I'm Marcy Marcusa. You're on Information Radio, 89.3 FM, 990 AM on the app and YouTube. Well, if you're watching this half hour, then you're going to see our guest come up, and he is going to talk to us about storms. We sure have had issues this spring. Tornadoes and baseball-sized hail, flash flooding, and just strong swaths of rain, including yesterday, that keep coming. Manitoba has seen it all already, and the season's just begun. We're going to hear about some simple and also some complex changes that can be made, specifically to buildings to protect them against severe weather events. So stay tuned. We'll have that interview this half hour. Plus, we'll also get a preview of what's coming up on today's Manitoba-wide call-in on Radio Noon. Stay with us. Well, speaking of Manitoba-wide, here's Heather Wells with our headlines.
Good morning. Well, after years without a sitting mayor or council, some people in Leaf Rapids want their municipal government back. The province took over the town's affairs in 2019, and since then, resident Leanne Anderson says Leaf Rapids has fallen into decay. Most recently, RCMP receiving reports of crimes believed to be gang-related. Anderson also says the town's only grocery store has announced it may need to close. An independent Winnipeg grocer isn't convinced a downtown grocery store can survive. Red River Co-op will open a full-service food store and pharmacy as part of the Portage Place redevelopment. Food Fair owner Munther Zeed says every downtown retailer has a major shoplifting issue. We're going to hear more from him in our next local news coming up at 8:30.
All right, thank you, Heather.
Thanks.
Into the forecast now with Abby Adiemi.
Yeah, we're still enjoying that warm start. I call it more like a warm summer day across the
province. Clear starts. We're seeing periodic clouds in and out. There's a risk of scattered thunderstorms across the southern and northern regions sometime this afternoon in some areas. For Winnipeg right now, currently we're seeing those cloudy conditions mixed with the sun. 18 degrees. The winds will pick up as we track towards a humid high of 24 today, and that's what we'll be seeing in the Westman region, the Parkland, the Interlake region today. It's going to be warm in the morning, and then we'll see highs close to 25 degrees. Most of the regions getting close to 17 at this time in the south, and then if you look up north, we're already seeing temperatures around 16 degrees, climbing to a high of 26. So Churchill still staying cool at 7 degrees at this time, and the high there will be for 15. Winnipeg, we are at 18. We just creep close to 25 today.
All right, thanks, Abby.
Thank you.
Sierra.
Hi, Marcy. It's been pretty quiet on the commute this morning, so to me it sounds like your Thursday commute is moving along pretty well. It's going smooth out there. But if that changes here in the next 20 minutes or so, give me a call on the CBC commuter line. That number's 204-788-3093.
Well, we have had our fair share of really active storms this year already. Just a couple of weeks ago, people were talking about tornado alert fatigue, 20 plus warnings coming to our phone, at least 2 in that severe weather event in June earlier this month, confirmed to touch down. We've also had heavy rain and hail, in some cases the size of baseballs. So we've seen so much severe weather already this spring, and now we add into that flash flooding with wind events as well. It has been keeping some researchers busy. The Canadian Severe Storms Laboratory is based out of Western University in London, Ontario. They've been working to track all the severe summer storms across Canada. They look at things like climate change and how it can increase the frequency of these types of events. Greg Kopp is the director of the Canadian Severe Storms Laboratory. He joins us over Zoom, but I want to make clear he's in Winnipeg and he's got a test coming up today of one of the things we're talking about here around severe weather. Good morning.
Good morning.
So first of all, why don't we start with what's happening this afternoon? Because there's a test of something called a hail cannon at the Climate Resilience Center in downtown Winnipeg. What's a hail cannon?
Well, we have frozen ice that replicates hail, and we fire it at building products and see how they perform. One of the big issues in hailstorms is the damage it causes. Of course, it damages cars and roofs. And when there's wind, it also damages siding and windows. And then you get rain in and it's a mess. So we want to understand better how building products perform. So we test them.
What are some of the things to that end, if we stay with that thread, that people can do to protect their homes and property when it comes to hail damage and to wind damage from tornadoes?
Well, protecting for hail damage really is about how your building is built. So the products that you use can affect the performance. And we use asphalt shingles, and asphalt shingles really kind of suffer under hail. So there's not much you can do in advance. Or in the storm, but you can do things in advance when you choose products for your house. For cars, park them in the garage.
Yeah, right. That's a tough one with vehicles. How do building codes work to either protect Canadians, or how might they need to change given more severe weather events?
Well, the National Building Code is really working on adapting to climate change right now. It's considering things. Hail isn't in the current plan, but it might be in there in the next decade or so. We're actually trying to incorporate things like tornadoes in the building code now. As more and more damage is occurring for these things, we need to be able to protect people and property and reduce the losses. And so we're actually working to get tornadoes in the next version of the National Building Code.
How would that represent in the building code tornadoes? Just for example.
Well, what we have, for housing, it's doing things like putting in hurricane straps. So they're just small metal straps. They're pretty inexpensive, and it holds the roof down. Our roofs in Canada are really strong because of the heavy snow loads, and what we need to do to hold a roof down, to keep it on the walls, is just a few metal straps, and it costs a few $100s per house. So those are the kind of actions that we're looking for in the code to keep everyone safe.
Just while we're talking code, are you looking at anything about severe heat, or else ways to prevent flooding? Because those are also things in Manitoba we struggle with.
Yeah, the heat is an issue. Europe's really suffering right now, and there's a lot of deaths. So finding ways to ensure that there's ventilation and access to cool spaces for people is something that's important. Basement flooding is a real challenge in Canada. All of our houses, we all have basements. We all love having our TVs and couches down there as an extra space. And I know I grew up on the prairies here, and you dig a hole in the ground and it fills up with water, and it's called a dugout. And so our basements get wet. And there's things we can do about that. Backwater valves can help, but also the municipality infrastructure has to be dealing with the volume of water that's coming. And I think there was some challenges here in Winnipeg over the last few weeks with that.
In terms of the frequency of weather events, I was alluding to this, but given that this is the work you do, tell me a little bit more about how, in your estimation, when you look at this, we're comparing to other years in terms of severe storms.
This year is very active. It's been the busiest ever for our team. We had teams out doing damage surveys from Peace River, Alberta, all the way to Montreal, Quebec at the same time. It's been a crazy early spring for us with lots of severe weather. The number of tornadoes in the country, we're well over 30 to date already for the year. And so it's been really, really active. And then, of course, with these severe storms, you get the hail and the flash flooding and all that damage. So it's been a busy time. Some years it's quieter. When there's wildfires and smoke, it seems to suppress storms. So it gets really complex with what's happening as we go forward in the years.
Part of your work specifically does revolve around identifying severe weather events like tornadoes. How has the advancement of AI imagery impacted your tracking efforts?
AI is both a blessing and a curse in some ways. The blessing comes when we use a lot of satellite data, images of the Earth to identify tornado tracks, and AI and machine learning allows us to identify tornado tracks from the damage they cause in remote areas. But we're seeing also more and more fake tornado images from the public coming out. And so that's causing a challenge with identifying storms, because we use visual imagery as well to identify and confirm them. So we have to watch now for really fake images.
The Institute I mentioned for Catastrophic Loss Reduction is one that you partner with. They run the Climate Resilience Center here in downtown Winnipeg. Beyond the hail cannon that's going off today to test hail's impact on different building products, what other kind of research is done there?
We have, it's a lot of example mitigation measures for the public to understand what they can do to protect their homes and what's involved with that. So there's rigs that really pull nails out of walls, and just to see how strong they are, and you can compare that with hurricane straps and to see the difference in strength. And it really gives people a feel for the kind of measures that you can do. And most of them are really pretty simple and cost effective. And I think that's one of the main takeaways when you look at resilience measures. When we put these things into our buildings, we can make them a lot safer for not much more money. And that's one of the key points.
Thank you very much for giving us a little bit of insight into this, Greg. Appreciate having you on the program today.
Thank you so much.
That's Greg Kopp with us this morning live. He is in Winnipeg. He's the director of the Canadian Severe Storms Laboratory, which is based out of Western University in London, Ontario.
On the topics that matter, your voice should be heard.
It looks like this is maybe a one-day blip when farmers across the province need hot and dry.
Radio Noon is where you can voice your take.
In general, it's harder to find a job even if you're educated.
I'm Marjorie Dowhouse. From 12:15 to 1 p.m., Radio Noon opens the phone lines on one important topic.
When I was 5 or 6, my parents gave me seeds and helped me plant them. That was probably close to 70 years ago. And here I am still gardening.
It just brings everyone together. Radio Noon's call-in segment, 204-780-0893. We want to hear from you weekdays on CBC.
This morning in Winnipeg, mostly cloudy. It's 18 right now. The hot spot in the province is Snow Lake at 19. Cold spot 7 degrees up in Churchill. Brandon, you're sunny and 14 degrees currently. And in Thompson right now, it is a little bit cloudy, partly cloudy, and 15 degrees is your current temperature. Well, speaking of severe weather, as you've been hearing on World Report this morning, Venezuela was hit with its biggest earthquakes in over a century last night. The quakes hit along the country's northern coast and they caused widespread devastation. Officials there are still assessing the damage, but some models suggest that the death toll from the earthquakes could be in the thousands. Journalist Cody Weddle has more this morning from neighboring Colombia.
We saw these videos coming out yesterday evening. Collapsed buildings both in Caracas and on the coast in La Guaira state, where the international airport is located. We heard last night from acting president Delcy Rodriguez. She said the most affected area likely is La Guaira there on the coast. That is also a very densely populated area. Very likely here that many people remain trapped under rubble. We saw videos last night of rescuers attempting to talk to some of those people. They were communicating with them. So surely we will be seeing more of those scenes throughout the day. But people really will just be starting to evaluate the damage this morning. We know there were many people who remained in the streets all night. The government warning folks that if there was structural damage to their homes, certain types of cracks and things that they could see, it was safer to remain outside. We also know that the government has opened up shelters at local schools, local police stations as well. I've been speaking to people in Caracas throughout the night, and they're talking about just a few minutes of very violent shaking. A few friends of mine said they were trying to get to a door. They were trying to move, to get out of the building, but the shaking was so violent they could not even move. They felt like they couldn't move. I spoke to another person who was in La Guaira, that is that coastal state. She got out of the building just in time, right before that building where she lives collapsed. So the question is, how many people were able to get out of those buildings before they collapsed? We know there are collapsed buildings both in Caracas and in the coast, in La Guaira, and some other small towns as well. So really the evaluation here of the damage just beginning.
That's journalist Cody Weddle, who is in Colombia, but has been reporting on what happened in Venezuela. The biggest earthquakes in over a century last night. So far, 150 people have been confirmed dead in the earthquakes. But modeling by U.S. Geological Survey does suggest the true death toll, as I mentioned, could rise to being in the thousands. We'll continue to report on this through the day as we get more information out of Venezuela. It is 8:25 a.m. on 89.3 FM. I'm Marcy Marcusa. Tomorrow's special treat. We don't do this each and every day, but it's perfect for a Friday. We're going to invite the people who won tickets to see the Sea Bears in action on July 30th. Big special game going on. It's their Canada Day game, but it happens to be on the 30th. June 30th. We have all the Sea Bears ticket winners, and we've invited them for a chance to win even more. So they're going to be engaging in a free throw competition live on Information Radio after 8 tomorrow next door, U of W at the basketball court. And we're going to see who's going to be able to win some VIP tickets and get an upgrade to the game. So that'll be some Friday fun. Right now, a little music for you from Winnipeg musician Irvin Miller, who leads an ensemble through a high-energy blend of rhythm and blues. And the band has kind of a gritty fusion of rock and soul on their track Horsepower. So you can catch them performing if you want to at the Back 40 Festival in Morden. That's on tomorrow as we get into festival season. Meantime, here's Irvin Miller with the track I'm talking about. It's called Horsepower.
Seems like every time I love somebody, I just end up falling for a friend. I just can't settle down, don't know where my audacity is. 500 horsepower, anything less will get me there. I've got she could, I know she would. I got money and I'm trying to spend. Landlord ain't getting no rent. I cleaned out just not today. Never gonna change my ways. Give me all I am. I'm raising hell to the break of day. Go. Yeah, I say my rapid days are behind me, but I'm heading backward again. Oh, yes, I am. Hear me holler, raising hell to the break of day. All right. One more time. Rapid days behind me now. Maybe I'm heading backwards, heading backward again.
Irvin Miller Band. That's Horsepower. You can check them out at the Back 40 Festival. They're performing tomorrow in Morden. Well, let's get to what's coming up on Radio Noon's Call-In that starts at 12:15 and goes province-wide. Host Marjorie Dalhouse is here to talk about it.
Well, Marcy, you probably know someone, or maybe you know someone who has someone who is graduating this year. End of the school year, graduation ceremonies are happening all over our province. So today, coming up on the show, we're going to hear from some grads here in Manitoba. But if there is a grad that you want to give a shout out to celebrate, maybe you just want to reminisce. It made me, talking to our guests, it made me think about, oh my gosh, I graduated so many years ago. It was the funnest time, the best time. So join us on the show and let's celebrate all those amazing grads out there.
Fabulous. Thank you, Marge.
Thanks, Marcy.
That was my favorite interview of the morning. I loved all the guests, but I have to say there was a grad who was a valedictorian at Garden Hill, just graduated yesterday and got up bleary-eyed this morning and came on the radio and talked about their message to other young people. Just fantastic to hear. So congratulations. There's Joshua Joy McPherson, little picture coming up on YouTube. Congratulations to all the grads across Manitoba. And if you have someone to shout out, or if you are wanting to go down memory lane and reminisce about this special time of year, don't miss the call-in today at Radio Noon on Radio Noon. 12:15 is when it starts on 89.3 FM right here. Your CBC News from Manitoba is next.
This is CBC News. Good morning. I'm Heather Wells in Winnipeg. At 8:30, it's 18 degrees now. We're headed to a high today of 24. It's so close to seasonal. The normal high is 25. Lots of sunshine this morning. We will see some clouds this afternoon, and there is a chance of showers. After years without a sitting mayor or council, some people in Leaf Rapids want their municipal government back. The province took over the town's affairs in 2019. Since then, Leanna Anderson says Leaf Rapids has fallen into decay. Most recently, RCMP receiving reports of crimes believed to be gang-related. Crime and safety aren't the only concerns. Anderson says the town's only grocery store has announced it might need to close.
To be able to have a roof over your head, to feel safe, to be able to have a full belly from eating, to not feel thirsty because you're able to drink. In Leaf Rapids, we don't have that. There's safety concerns, there's housing shortages, there's food security issues.
Anderson says people need a voice in government to address Leaf Rapids' problems. The province says it will continue working with the local CAO to fulfill basic municipal operations. An independent Winnipeg grocer isn't convinced a grocery store can survive in this city's downtown. Red River Co-op will open a full-service food store and pharmacy as part of the Portage Place redevelopment. Food Fair owner Munther Zeed says every downtown retailer has a major shoplifting issue, and he thinks a grocery store would face those same challenges.
Not unless they want to provide the security at the government expense. You want me to open up a grocery store? Give me a building with a parking lot and you provide the security. I'll take my chances. But I need police, not security, police, 24/7 at the government's expense.
Red River Co-op plans to open that new downtown Winnipeg grocery store in 2029. Catastrophic earthquakes have hit Venezuela. Responders pulling victims from the debris of collapsed high-rise apartment buildings. That is the scene in Venezuela's capital following two back-to-back earthquakes. They were 7.2 and 7.5 magnitude yesterday evening. At least 164 people are dead. Nearly 1,000 are injured in Caracas alone. But officials say the full scale of this disaster is still unknown. Well, 6 weeks after a windstorm clogged rural drains with tons of dirt and debris, the Reeve of Montcalm says they are far from dug out. Paul Gilmore says only a quarter of the work is done, and more rain slows things down and floods farms. Gilmore says Montcalm needs $2 million in provincial disaster financial assistance to dig out of their financial hole.
I know the flood situation in the Swan River and the other areas is quite drastic, and good for WAB Canoe to having announced a DFA for them right away. But we consider this a pretty drastic situation. I mean, there's no way we can dig $2 million out of our reserve and jeopardize our future, you know.
Neighboring RMs of Morris, Emerson Franklin, and Rhineland are also asking the province for financial support. The province says their requests are still under review. A Winnipeg elementary school is changing its name to sever its connection with a problematic figure in Canadian history. For more than 50 years, Dalhousie School in Fort Richmond has borne the name of the 9th Earl of Dalhousie. He served as Lieutenant Governor of Nova Scotia in the early 19th century and was the founder of Dalhousie University in Halifax. He was also known to support slavery and policies that marginalized Black people. Evie Klostermeyer is the school's acting principal.
The research showed that Dalhousie was a contributor to slavery and not appropriate actions towards diverse cultural groups. And so we felt it had no value for what this community represents.
The school will now be known as Ani Bibanan School. It's an Anishinaabe-Moan word meaning summer berries. The name was chosen from 55 submissions after consultations with Indigenous language and knowledge keepers. And Flin Flon celebrated its high school graduating class in its own special way yesterday. A citywide water fight. High school graduates getting hit with a fire hose at Hapnock Collegiate's annual Grad Car Parade. People spraying the grads with hoses and throwing water balloons. Grads like Ariana Belisle and Taylor Burwash were ready to fight back.
We got about 1,000 balloons.
I'd say 2,000 balloons.
About 2,000. We probably spent $100 on this at least. Nobody is ready for us.
Flin Flon School will host a more formal and drier graduation ceremony on Friday. You can find the latest news updated throughout the day. All you have to do is head to cbc.ca/Manitoba.
So nice. We had all the wildfires everywhere last year and, so many things affected for students. I love hearing all the students just celebrating grad.
So much fun.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, Heather.
Thank you.
Let's get into a last look at the morning commute. How do we do?
We did pretty good. It's been pretty quiet. No major incidents that I'm aware of to keep an eye out there. But just to be aware that the Winnipeg Blue Bombers are back in action tonight at Princess Auto Stadium, taking on the Edmonton Elks. So be aware of any traffic backups in the area there.
All right, thank you. Let's get into what's happening. One last look at our forecast with Abby.
Well, the sunshine is definitely going to warm things up, and you will feel the humidity today before we see those afternoon scattered showers across the southern and northern regions. The south will warm up close to 25, then cools to 14 overnight before we see that sunny day tomorrow for Friday. And up north, we're seeing hazy conditions in some areas. Highs will be close to 26. Winnipeg right now 18. We're closing shop for today at 24 under some scattered clouds.
All right, thanks to Travis Peterson and Sierra Sanders and Abby Adiemi, our fabulous control room crew this morning live in the show. Also to our newsroom, Aaron Broman, Heather Wells, Megan Ketchison, and Darren Bernhardt, producers Nellie Gonzalez and Corey Funk, and associate producers Michaela Van Kooten, Emily Enns, Chloe Friesen, and Sophia Peralta-Barone for all their work on the show. Chloe Friesen is in hosting for me tomorrow for the Friday show, so enjoy it, and I will talk to you on Monday. The Current's next. I'm Marcy Marcusa.